right away. Here's the first move. A decent hit. Vigorous attack. Severe hit. What a furious battle. Now. What now? There, it's a hit. Double edge. Harsh blow. Oh! Is it down and out? What will the next Pokemon be? The combatants face each other. Oh! It's Bulbasaur! It has to make up for lost ground. It's 2 Pokemon against 3 now. This battle is still up in the air. What's next? Good hit. It's Sleep Power. Oh no, it fell asleep. Falling asleep is going to make this a one-sided fight. Here's a Pokemon chain. Oh, it's Clefairy! What's this? And the weak spot. Will this Pokemon swap change the flow of battle? What'll it do? Power strike! Oh! It's down! Which Pokemon is coming out? Oh, it's Magnemite! How will the type difference affect that? The commands are issued. What now? Severe hit! What's next? A decent hit! What a furious battle! Right! Thunderbolt! There, it's a hit! Oh! Is it down and out? There's only one Pokemon left in reserve. Now, we're down to the last Pokemon. It's asleep on the job. It's 1 Pokemon against 2 now. The tense battle continues. The attack wasn't effective. It's fast asleep. Neither one is conceding an inch. Combatants face each other. It still won't awaken. What's this? And the weak spot. The intense battle continues. It's a swift attack. Good hit. Oh, it's down. power. Oh no, it fell asleep. It's fast asleep. They're both being cautious here. The combatants face each other. What now? A decent hit. It still won't awaken. What a furious battle. What's that? There, it's a hit. It woke up. Neither one is conceding an inch. They're staring each other down. The trainer hasn't issued an order. What's the matter, trainer? What's this? The move failed to click. What'll it do? Oh no, it fell asleep. Falling asleep is going to make this a one-sided fight. It's fast asleep. What now? The attack wasn't effective. The intense battle continues. The commands are issued. It finally woke up. What's next? It didn't do much damage. Fireworks are flying in this battle. What's this? It fell asleep again. It's fast asleep. How will this snooze affect the battle? What'll it do? Good hit. It finally woke up. The crowd's excitement is building over this hot battle. What now? Yeah, it's a hit. It's thrashing about. That was weak. The heated battle rages on. What's next? Oh, the attack missed. There's nothing you can do now. It's not very effective. What a furious battle. They're staring each other down. What's this? A decent hit. What'll it do? There, it's a hit. Neither one is conceding an inch. What now? And the weak spot. Whoa! It attacked itself. Hey, what's it doing? Down it goes. What will the next Pokemon be? Oh, it's Psyduck! It has to make up for lost ground. How will the type difference affect that? Ice Beam! Super effective! It's finally taken down! Which Pokemon is coming out? Oh, it's Pikachu! The Pokemon are entirely different types. Right! Thunderbolt! That will hurt! Take it down with one hit! There's only one Pokemon left in reserve. Combatants face each other. Oh, it's Magnemite! It's one Pokemon against two now. The 10th battle continues. It used Thunder Wave! Oops, it's paralyzed! What's next? Power Strike! What a furious battle! They're staring each other down. The commands are issued. What's this? The attack wasn't effective. It's paralyzed on the spot. The intense battle continues. They're staring each other down. They go into battle poses. What now? It didn't do much damage. What'll it do? And the weak spot. Oh! Is it down and out? Both combatants are down to their last Pokemon. Oh, it's Squirtle! There's just one Pokemon aside now. The battle is coming right down to the wire. What's next? A decent hit! How's that? Whoa! That's tough! It's a one-hit wonder! And there goes the battle!
absolute maximum that it could be. Largely because of Maricopa County, they put out a statement saying just them alone, it might take them upwards of 12 days to count all the ballots, so that's largely because of Maricopa County. Georgia is an interesting example. So because of Georgia's state law, they actually will probably know like the vast majority of all their election results today, but for 100% of the results, when you like count them provisional ballots, things like that, and mail-in ballots received, it'll take upwards of a week to know 100% of the results. And so same thing for the other states as well, as you can see. And again, this really only matters if it comes down to the wire. If the race is so tight that, let's say you're at 92% of the votes counted, but it still matters how those remaining 8% come in, that's when this will really matter. So if you want to take a look again behind us, these are the different estimates for when we'll know 100% in those particular states.
Very fascinating breakdown. We're going to pivot over now to NTD's Kevin Hogan over here at the data wall to break down some more counties for us. Kevin, of course, night is still early. We're seeing some results come in. I know earlier you were going to point out Florida and what's happening there. You know, Florida used to be a swing state. It was quite purple. Now it's not really seen as that anymore, but we do have some ballot initiatives there in Florida, whether that's, you know, the issue of legalized marijuana for medicinal use or the issue of abortion that maybe could turn the state more purpley. But what are you looking for in Florida tonight?
Well, again, we only have 77% of the votes in, so you got to count all the votes. Very critical. But, for example, you have Trump at a 10-point lead. That's about 5 points more than the polls were giving him, at least at this snapshot in time. I want to draw your attention here to Miami-Dade County. This is Miami area right here. A large Hispanic population in this zone. Now, for example, this is a big shift that we're seeing, at least just with this early snapshot, because Clinton carried it with about 30 points, and then Biden carried it with about 9 points. And look at this. Harris is behind about 11 points. So it's a shift to Trump in Miami-Dade. And this is with 80% of the votes in that particular county. So we saw some of those exit polls showing how there may be a little bit of a shift of the Hispanic vote towards former President Trump. So maybe that's something that's showing up. Again, we're going to have to wait and see exactly how that plays out because there's still a lot of votes to count. So it might just depend on which precincts particularly are being counted yet, and that's why we might see those trends.
All right, Kevin, thanks for those updates, and we will have a lot more for you. But first, we do have some projections to give you in terms of the race 2 to 70. So NTD is, well, actually, looks like the state of Georgia, 16 electoral votes on the line in that state, in the Peach State. It is still too early to call. This is with 18% of the votes in. So as more numbers roll in, we'll have more for you there. Florida, as we were just talking about over here with Kevin, too early to call as well. It does look like it is leaning towards Trump. It is with 77% of the votes in there. There are electoral votes on the line there. New Hampshire also too early to call. This is with 12% of the votes in. 4 electoral votes at stake in that state. So a lot to watch for there as well. We're hearing earlier there's some, potential bellwethers in New Hampshire, but let's bring it back in studio here, actually other studio, to NTD's Kevin Hogan. Break down for us some of the numbers you're seeing in Georgia. Of course, lots to look for here. The Peach State, 16 electoral votes on the line.
Yes, again, very early. It might be a little while before we know the results in the state in total, but 20% in, you're seeing Trump with a hefty lead. Now, that may be attributed to, again, you're seeing some of these exurbs being counted, so there's a lot of gray here in Atlanta. So normally Democrats pick up, a quarter to a half million just in these two counties in Fulton and DeKalb. So there's still plenty of room for this election to change in this state, for example. But you see a lot of these rural counties are being counted. We do have a little bit of data from Chatham County, so we can go down there. We got 5% of the vote in. Harris with a sizable lead over Trump. As you go back to 2020, that was a little bit more competitive, and then even 2016, you can see that it's only about 14 points, but Harris is doing fairly well there, about a 48-point spread. But again, that's just with a handful of votes being counted. So now we still just have yet to find out what the voters in Atlanta, and that's including the whole metro area. So you got Gwinnett County. Again, this is the most diverse county. So a woman of color now on the ballot for president could make a big difference there. Again, you have Cobb County and Henry County. These are the some of the suburbs, and you go back to 2020. I mean, you see, well over 100,000 votes just in Henry. Cobb is the second most populated county in the state. So again, not counting these early in the night, that could probably be part of the reason why you're seeing former President Trump with this sizable lead. That's 208,000 votes that he's up ahead of Harris. And again, You remember, this state has been historically very, very close. That's 11,000 or so, 12,000 votes in the last election. And then in 2016, Trump won it by about 5 points, 200,000 votes. So really, we're just waiting to see how this shakes out, to see what the voters in the metro area are going to do.
And Kevin, zooming out to the coast there, what about Savannah? What is any indicators in Savannah so far, or still too early in the night?
Yeah, it's very early, only 5% of the vote. So like we said, we touched on Chatham County, that's Savannah. And if you remember, Harris took her bus tour down in this area. And according to some analysts, she was one of the first presidential candidates to actually tour this area since the 1990s. So a very strategic move by her. And then you can go out to Liberty County. Again, this whole area has shifted to the Democrats about a couple points as of late. So, we're going to have to see if Harris is able to keep that trend up. But if, for example, you go back to Liberty County last election, Biden got it by about 23, 24 points. Let's see what Harris is doing. At 74% of the vote, she's at about 21. So we're seeing similar, but maybe not quite the performance there in that particular county. But again, you have a lot of gray in here that needs to get filled in. So you have to look at this whole county group when we have a little bit more data. We also have some information coming in for North Carolina too.
Well, sticking with Georgia real quick though, in terms of exit polls, it seems, the black vote is trickling in. What counties might we be seeing that in, and is that helping Harris in this race tonight?
Well, as I mentioned, so you have the Black Belt. That's a portion of the country that has a lot of these majority black counties. But for example, like right here, you have Twiggs County, right? So we have 60% of the vote in, and this is, again, a pivot county that went for Obama to Trump. So this is Obama-Trump country that you're talking about. Trump is up with about 7 points back in 2020. There was a similar story. You see about
not qualified heathen insurrectional. And the Supreme Court, in a real dumb way, said, "Well, listen, Donald Trump. If the House finds him if the House convicts him again, the House isn't even able to convict, but the House can pass a bill saying that Donald Trump is an insurrectionist. And if that's the case, then that's the plan. By the way, what the House will do is the House will pass a bill if they want to get fucking frisky, I guess, and they'll pass a bill that says Donald Trump is an insurrectionist, and then when it comes to January 6th, they won't certify him in the ceremony because they'll say, well, listen, he's an insurrectionist. This is going to be, again, not we've got a while. Nothing's going to be fixed tonight. Like overcoming a stolen election tonight. There's still, these idiots are going to blow everything up. Get yourself a contagion kit. They're going to hit you with monkeypox and AIDS. So I'm not trying to I'm not trying to Emerald Robinson anybody during the show, this election right now. We need to win this, but there's a lot. These people are going to set shit on fire. Thanks for a Treeman, my cracker. Thanks, Elijah. So much horseshit happening. Yep, Jimmy. Things are. So I'm gonna miss some of these. They do these. Fenway. 20 la 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 la. 20 la 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 la. They want you to believe with a straight face.
Research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special T-shirt that you
If not qualified heathen insurrectional. And the Supreme Court, in a real dumb way, said, "Well, like a Pat sketch. You're loved. You're powerful. You're super duper. loved, and you can do it. That's weird. Come on, la 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 la. I don't at all understand this whole Doug thing at the beginning. I don't know if this is a deeper part of Saturday Night Live and this is like a thing that they've been doing, but if you, again, nobody knows what the fuck is happening.
All right,
here.
well, I need to start getting ready for my speech, babe.
Oh, you'll be great out there, and you have my full support as always. Just like you supported me in my ongoing lawsuit against the children's cartoon Doug for using my name and likeness without permission.
I mean, this beady-eyed son of a bitch over here. Are you even gonna put on? Are you even gonna? That's not how her effeminate husband even fouled. He fouled more like that. You've got the lisp. The fuck is wrong with this guy? Is every single person on the left-hand side born from a mom who was doing drugs in utero? What is wrong? Your eyeballs shouldn't be. All the white dudes for Kamala, your eyeballs are hella close together, and all of you black chicks for Kamala, your eyeballs are hella far apart. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Leftism is a hell of a fucking thing, boys. Thanks, Benway. And then it just gets way worse.
I don't really laugh like that, do I? See what you did there, like to a garbage truck, right? I don't really laugh like that, do I? A little bit. Now, Kamala, take my Pamela.
I swear to God. This is... What we'll do is we'll just do rhymes. And everybody knows the rhymes are super duper funny. And the best part is nobody's offended by rhymes. Fuck you! I'm hell of offended by rhymes. Right? Rhymes were the root cause of slavery. Everybody knows this. 1619. Rhymes with piff teeth, pipe teeth. See how that works? Kamala Pamela. Holy fuck. Putin, if you want to nuke DC and New York, I'd be like, okay.
Out of the 7 swing states that we're watching tonight. And in Michigan, 15 electoral votes are at stake. These two states could seal the race for either Harris or Trump. Remember, both of them went to Trump in 2016, propelling him to the White House, then flipped for Biden in 2020. Right now, NTD does have a projection for you. And right now, the state of Delaware, the sitting president, President Biden's home state, is still too early to call. We're still watching for the votes to come in for those 3 electoral votes. And the District of Columbia largely skews Democrat. Still too early to call. Be keeping an eye on those 3 electoral votes. And Kansas, polls closing in Kansas. Still too early to call. 6 electoral votes up for grabs in Kansas. State of Michigan, all eyes on Michigan, as we were just saying. 15 electoral votes up for grabs, could go either way. 0% in. Polls closing there. We're keeping an eye closely on Michigan. And obviously the state of Pennsylvania, all eyes there. Some data starting to roll in. 19 electoral votes up for grabs in the Keystone State. Only 3% of the vote in. Still too early to call. And New Jersey, the state of New Jersey, 2% of the vote in. 14 electoral votes up for grabs in New Jersey. In Missouri, still too close to call as well for 10 electoral votes. Be keeping an eye on Missouri. And Texas, it does look like we have a projected winner. And no, it's false alarm. Too early to call in Texas. Looks like former President Trump, with only 8% of the vote, is trailing right now to vote.
Claire, how are you?
Oh, so that was a product of like intent. They were lured there.
Yeah, Republicans did that. It sounded like Democrats would be the ones to do something
Not
like that.
surprised.
Yeah.
So right now we have Donald Trump at
time. I'm super duper happy to be here. I'm the first Asian woman. And then they tried to swindle a bunch of black people, and then she became black. And now they've forgotten that she's East Indian of Jamaican descent. Like fucking stupid asshole. Gotta get one of them blicks with a vagina. First blick vagina, everybody. Yeah, but she's a moron. Yeah, she's a moron. Maybe what we should do is, we should get a black woman president eventually, obviously. But how about we get one that's not fucking stupid? Yeah, one that isn't a dumb whore. Oh my God, is
historic day, I think.
Stupid fucker.
First woman president, first black president. Second black president, first black woman president. And I think it's really important.
Never a policy. Never a policy. Stupid fucking idiots with white guilt. Dumb asshole, white liberal cocksuckers who've had it way too good in this civilization. Sitting there going, you know what? It's time for anybody to do the job, even if she's a stupid whore. But as long as she's a black whore, though, right? She gotta be black. 1/24 black, though, right? Oh, you gonna do a whole blood thing?
Did you think about your kids as you made your decision?
Yeah, I did. I have a daughter, and I think she should be making decisions for herself and her life, just like everybody else.
Did you bring your kids here?
Again, so you have a daughter? Yes. All right. What are you worried about with your daughter? Well, she needs to be able to make decisions about herself and her own life. Well, she can't make a decision about herself and her own life. What are you talking about? When you talk about abortion, right? Decisions about herself and her body, not about whether or not she's forced to take an experimental concoction, though. I mean, come on, let's not get fucking silly over here. That's dumb. Idiots. Fucking morons. Are you crazy? No. When it comes to experimental concoctions over sniffles, all that rhetoric goes right out the fucking window. But no, when it comes to killing a baby, no. She needs to be able to kill a baby, right? I need my daughter to be a whore, right? Well, how about you don't raise a whore? How that? Wild, crazy, I know. Yeah, you guys have access to abortion, right?
Only 84% in, but that's just an early indication that that area, which has a lot of Hispanic voters, is trending towards Trump at the moment.
Kevin, show us just briefly, if you could, what Florida did statewide in 2016 and 2020.
Yeah, so right now we'll just look back. So Trump was able to carry this by about 3 points in 2020, and then in 2016, it was a much closer race, just about 1.25 points. So it seems like this state is just becoming a little bit more red as time goes on, if in fact this roughly 10, 12-point lead that former President Trump is showing at 87% in continues. And you keep in mind, I mean, this 12, 13-point lead, that's a lot more than the polls were giving former President Trump. So again, it could be the result of maybe some more votes to be counted in some of these areas. But again, in Miami-Dade, you have about 84%. That's pretty similar to the statewide, 87. Or it could be an indication that some of the polls may have underestimated Trump like they did in those critical battlegrounds in the Northeast in 2016, 2016 primarily being an upset, and then 2020 when they underpolled Trump, and then it ended up being very competitive.
Really fascinating information coming out of NTD's data wall with Kevin Hogan. We will be checking in with you very shortly. In the meantime, we're going to toss it back to Tiffany, who's in the studio at the desk.
All right, thank you both. And now let's go to the D.C. studio with NTD's Melina Weisskopf with more on tonight's key races that could decide the balance of power. Melina, tell us what you're watching for in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Texas, and Florida.
Right, a lot of states there, but with such little data coming in, I'm going to focus on just a couple of key ones here. Like Kevin just mentioned, there are some interesting things happening in Florida. First, let's start with an overview of how the balance of power is looking. We're going to start with the House. Republicans look to be up just by a little bit, 37, but we have to remember the big picture might come for the House later in the night when the polls close at 9 and 11 p.m. in New York and California, because those are where Republicans are vulnerable. So we might have to wait until then to get a clearer picture of how that balance of power is looking in the House. Even for a couple of hours there, you might see Republicans looking so close to the finish, but Democrats could certainly catch up in those two blue states. As for the Senate, we've called a couple of races for the Senate, notably West Virginia and Florida. West Virginia, we knew this would be a Republican flip, but it's important because remember, this is only one of the seats that Republicans would need to have flipped from Democrats in order to take a bare bones majority in the Senate. It looks like they're already one down in Florida. They're keeping that seat. They're holding on to that seat in Florida. Something interesting is happening in Florida. Kevin just mentioned it. We'll go into it a bit later. We also have some results for Ohio and for we also have some results for Ohio and for Texas. So we're going to go into Ohio a little bit. So the Democrat looks to be leading a little bit, 0% of the vote. We have to wait a little bit to see what the big picture looks like for Ohio. We're going to be watching specifically these blue counties in the north of the state to see how Sherrod Brown is faring, if he's able to hold on to his seat. This is a toss-up race. And then we move on to Florida. Remember, I told you something interesting was happening in Florida. Kevin had mentioned over here, sort of on the west of the state, but I want to talk about the Miami-Dade area because something interesting is happening here when we look at historical data. Of course, Rick Scott is up. We've called this race. 86% of the vote is in for the state, but in Miami-Dade specifically, 83% of the vote is in for this county. When you look at the historical data going back to 2018, Democrats won this by about 20% of the vote. So this is a flip in Miami-Dade County. It's looking like, unless that percent of votes changes, you know, the Democrat being on top, but we've already called this race. So, you know, this is an interesting seat to watch. And then you zoom out, we're going to go over to Texas. There's some data coming in from Texas. Remember, this is also another state that Democrats were eyeing to flip in order to offset those potential losses in other states. So we're going to watch the data here. There are some Democrat-controlled counties in the bottom that we're going to be looking to see if Colin Allred is able to hold on to his slight lead over Ted Cruz. Only 16% of the vote is in for Texas. There's also some House races we're watching, but not enough data is in to really go into any of them. Some in Pennsylvania, some in Ohio, but not enough data there, just very small data points that we're looking at. So when you come back to us, we'll have more on those House races as well as Texas Senate race. Back to you.
All right, Melina, thanks for that. And we will be returning to you throughout the night. Bringing it back in studio here, we have former ambassador to Denmark, Carla Sands, political strategist and attorney Dante Mills, political strategist and attorney Gerard Filitti, and of course, Epoch Times investigative reporter Joshua Phillip, who's also the host of Crossroads. Good to have you all here with us again. Gerard, I want to start with you. You know, we've been seeing a lot of, say, election lawsuits ahead of Election Day. We might be seeing more tonight. But in terms of Pennsylvania, very critical state tonight, 19 electoral votes at stake here. What are some of the cases you're looking at in Pennsylvania that maybe could impact tonight's results?
Well, the cases that we need to look for are allegations that votes were counted when they shouldn't have been, i.e. votes that were not received timely, were not received by the end of today for mail-in ballots that were not handed in properly for early voting. We also could expect challenges to the way that votes are tabulated, whether people are in the room who are entitled to be or should be in the room when votes are being counted. What we saw in Pennsylvania last election was it took multiple days to have the votes counted, in part because they took breaks. Now they go straight through, and that is a significant change and makes it more likely that we won't have challenges, legal challenges on the counting. But it's also an issue in Philadelphia, for example, if people were not able to vote or people claimed that they were effectively disenfranchised because of threats or because of bombs or because of other things, that might affect in some ways whether or not a lawsuit gets filed. But ultimately, unless we're talking about a significant enough number of votes that are at issue, it probably won't matter.
And Dante, you also know Pennsylvania very well. We've talked about this several times.
Boy.
Moving away a little bit from litigation, of course you can comment on that, but what counties are you looking at tonight specifically that could be potential bellwethers for some early answers, so we're not waiting for this litigation to tell us who won in the days to come?
There's some bellwether counties in Pennsylvania. You talk about, you're looking at Scranton, I mean, you talk about Erie. The issue, though, in Pennsylvania that I think we need to look at is the topics that are important to these voters. And what I'm hearing from my sources, The early indicators, abortion is a very, very high issue with these voters that are leaving the polls when they're polled about what's most important to them. We know that the economy in Pennsylvania is going to be important, but that secondary issue seems to be abortion. I don't know if that favors former President Trump because a lot of people are saying they want the right to, the rights over their own body. And I think that that issue is a key issue, especially in Pennsylvania, where you talk about those rural women, right? Those middle-aged women who have families, who have daughters that they want to protect and make sure that they're going to have the same rights that they were afforded. I was talking to a voter today who said that it was just surprising that it could be where she has less rights than her mother, right? And you're in a position where...
Because they have boys in the girls' sports, is that why?
Well, no, because the right to their bodies being taken away. You have the ability now.
Nobody's taken any Pennsylvania woman's rights away.
Well, if former Trump becomes president, does it expand? And that's the concern.
Of course he has said no. So it's a 5% issue, but double digits are inflation, the economy, and then the border.
But if we're talking about a close state like Pennsylvania, that secondary issue,
no,
I think
it's not a secondary issue.
It is a secondary issue.
The first issue is inflation, economy. The
Absolutely.
Second issue is the border.
No,
you have to look at
Pennsylvania.
If you look at polling, that's the two top issues.
Well, we talk about before the election polling, and now we're talking about the polls from
I
now.
live there, yeah.
Right, but no, I'm talking about the polls from today, the exit polling, where people are saying that abortion is coming in as the #2 issue for a lot of these voters after the economy. Yes, the border is important. People want to be secure, but we're away from the border in Pennsylvania. It's impacted by the workers that are coming in, but families are saying this may impact the lives of my daughter, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want to live in a country where rights are being taken away, and I think that's going to impact the selection.
So in Pennsylvania, abortion is legal up to the 24th month. There's no European nation that allows abortion up to the 24th month. It's 12 weeks or 16 weeks max. Where I served in Denmark, it was 12 weeks max. And it's a states' rights issue. So these women have been fed a bill of goods. It's not going to change in Pennsylvania unless the voters decide.
But you can't sit here and say that this issue hasn't changed the rights for women in this country. You can't sit here and say that.
In this country, no. In some states, voters have said, we want abortion to be X or Y. I mean, Ohio had it on the ballot, and they said, we want no limits. So voters are deciding state by state. It was always a states' rights issue. The Supreme Court should never have been ruling on this issue.
But they did, so you can't say it was always a states' rights issue because
it
wasn't until
constitutionally
President Trump
belonged
came
with
in
the states
and promised that he would get rid of it, and he did. And it's having an impact one way or the other.
I mean, I do think both of you are right. We are getting some exit polling information here, and 31% are saying their top issues. The economy, 14% are saying abortion. In terms of Pennsylvania, we're still waiting for the numbers to come out tonight, of course. But in terms of early voting, we did see a large number of new voters that were turning out. And among those, about a third of those newly registered voters were Democratic women, saying that they're, Democratic women as newly registered voters. It does seem like that is a pretty big issue, to Dante's point. Carla, when it comes to a state that is as close as Pennsylvania has been in the polls and is quite consequential tonight, many are saying it could the whole race to 270 could be made or broken in that state. How do you see something like this where maybe what you just laid out is what is the truth, but you are seeing a lot of women do raise that argument that if Trump returns to the White House, they are seeing a future that looks like The Handmaid's Tale?
So that's a very sad story, but it, I think, is a consequence of the legacy media lying to women. If the legacy media was actually covering the news like they did when I was a kid, meaning in a fairly non-partisan way, telling the truth, talking about the real jobs reports, not suppressing that President Trump was assassination attempt, for instance, this would be a very different race. Pennsylvania is largely blue collar. It's an energy and agriculture state. Agriculture is $81 billion a year, #1 industry. Energy is close behind it. And so that makes it a very kind of MAGA type state. But the fact is the legacy media lies to the people and says things like, Trump's going to do this or that, which we had 4 years under Trump. There was no attempt to do anything like that. And as far as the states, every state has a right to conduct their elections the way that state deems under the law. And so it's never going to be a federal election rule, so to speak. Every state gets to do their elections, conduct them the way they want to. So I hope that the voters in these states choose to move to paper ballots, same-day voting, showing ID, so that we really do get secure elections the way most countries around the world have them.
I see Dante wanting to, jump in right here, but do hold that thought. We will go back to you right now, though. We have to go to Huntington Place in downtown Detroit, Michigan, where absentee ballots are being counted in that key battleground state tonight. Now, NTD's Chris Bob is there live to bring us up to speed. Chris, what is the atmosphere like in Huntington Place compared to what we saw there in, say, 2020?
Well, it is quite peaceful here in Huntington Place. If you remember back in 2020, this was the TCF Center. This was the site of that. You remember there were glass windows and there was cardboard on them and people were chanting outside, stop the count. This is where it happened. We're in another area here, a much larger area. You can see behind me, it goes on, it's massive, and people behind me are counting the ballots. I was very interested in how security has changed this year as opposed to the last election when things kind of went awry. And I spoke to the deputy police chief about the increase of measures here. Why don't you take a look? We'll play that clip.
Where we have officers strategically placed throughout this, not only the election or hall here at Huntington Place, but also in over 140 different locations throughout the city, which are the polling election sites.
And is this any different than what we saw in 2020?
In 2024, we were right on a room that as soon as you entered, glass doors and things, and individuals not quite sure or educated as to who can be inside, poll challengers, certainly observers. We didn't have that opportunity to share it with them, so it was a bit distracting to those that were in here.
So the deputy went on to note that there's now a credentialing process. If you're a poll challenger, if you're an observer.
Rushed to the shall rise again. Thanks, Norm. Thank you, guys. This chick's like, they're not talking to us. Yeah, we're not talking. You've been calling us Nazis, you fucking bitch. Why would anybody from our side talk to you? And again, you're going to tell me that my side is making bomb threats and my side is threatening to kill people? You've been calling us Nazis for 9 years. I'm not saying anybody should be throwing bricks at you, but if we were violent, you would know that we're violent because you'll be fucking dead. What has this dude saying? What the fuck has this guy saying? I don't know. I don't want to know. Nightmares, by the way. Oh my god, these won't talk to us here at CNN. You stupid bitch. You're lucky our site isn't driving by with farm equipment and knocking you over with fucking manure. You dirty bitch. Idiots. Your fellow live streamers on Rumble are a disaster so far tonight. Moving over to Salty for the relevant updates and the lulls. Thomas, what's going on? What are the other streamers doing tonight? Our boy Dan Bongino. Holy shit, fucking 416,000 people. How's there anybody even here on this stream? Where are we going tonight? There's 1 million people watching Dan Bongino and Crowder. Wow. Give us some love, Rumble. Put us.
In just a few minutes, stay with us.
At
famous graph, right? And you had the red wagons come in with votes, and you had people board up the precincts with Bristol boards. So if it's as bad in Wisconsin, they weren't as flagrant. Like, they didn't even try and hide it in Michigan. So maybe they just do a better job of hiding it in Wisconsin. But I think it's the same thing. What you're saying, the people and the representation, there's a pretty big divide, and you're probably more in tune with Wisconsin, but same thing with Michigan. I know so many people who would vote for Donald Trump. It's definitely close, but you don't always see that.
Next 5 minutes and buy one, get one absolutely free. We'll even include free shipping. Call or click now before the special buy one, get one free offer goes away.
A large retail store.
One lefty set half of himself on fire in front of the White House last week. Barely hurt himself. I was sitting there going, damn, throw a bike at him. And then you had the other dude throw himself on fire over Palestine. These are all lefties. Yeah, you're mentally unstables, instables, both of them. You're unsane and instables, idiots. This is a lefty thing, but no, this is hilarious. Here's Reddit. Reddit's gonna sleuth this for us. They're fucking Reddit. An entire platform of butt fuckers who are hyper concerned about their freedom of being able to fuck small children. These absolute degenerate weirdos. Most of these idiots on this platform, they've got human kitty litter boxes in their fucking shitty apartments. Because you have to be insane to be on Reddit these days. You've got to be a complete mentally ill person. But let's go to Reddit. Who do they think set themselves on fire? Some MAGA nut just tried to light himself on fire outside the Capitol. It's going to get very interesting the further we get into this. No, we're just going to go to work. Our site's just going to go to work. Your site set shit on fire over the stupidest shit. Some fentanyl head passing around counterfeit money and fentanyl to his neighborhood? ODs on his fentanyl? You idiots done set the entire country on fire. It went nationwide. It went international. You set England on fire over this fucking moron. But yeah, no. It's MAGAs. MAGAs set themselves on fire. Watch that. This is a good play. This is... When Harris wins, we need to focus on mental health reform. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? This entire platform is full of drug addicts who think they're fucking cats. Who want to be gay cats on top of it. Stop trying to legislate my transsexual cat. That doesn't make any sense. I want to kill babies. Yeah, but you're gay. You're not going to have a baby. You're fine. You're gay and ugly. This is a compounding issue when it comes to getting pregnant. Don't worry so much about it, but you're worried the most because it has nothing to do with anything other than you want to kill stuff. So good to be on the right side of history. It's so good to be included with the salty MAGA brothers and sisters in the USA. Wish the UK had a Trump. I hear you, Tony. Me too. Thanks, Thomas, again. Hey, Salty, numbers are great. This is just some send money from my 85-year-old best friend, my mother-in-law, JoJo, one of your biggest fans. Congratulations, JoJo, on placing your vote for Donald Trump Gold member. Thank you. Congratulations, JoJo. Yeah, what an incredible time to be alive. Let the MAGA set themselves up.
In her favor, but we'll just have to wait until that comes in more. Erie County, it's got those blue-collar roots in there. It's a little bit whiter and a little bit more of an older population than, say, the rest of the state or the rest of the country. So as the night goes on, that may give us more of an indication of how those voters are faring and how those voters are treating these candidates in the ballot box.
Still lots of votes to come in, yet to come in the state of Pennsylvania. We'll be keeping a close eye on that. Thank you, Kevin. We'll be back with you shortly. In the meantime, we're going to throw it back to the desk to Tiffany.
All right, thank you both. And now to Christina Corona in the swing state of Arizona. Not much longer now before the polls close there, Christina. What is the atmosphere like at the polling station where you are?
Good evening. That's right. We're here in Phoenix, Arizona at a polling station in the downtown area where several residents are still lining up and ready to cast their ballot. Now, with the latest update, according to Uplift Campaign, over 2.5 million ballots have been returned statewide, with Maricopa County returning 1 million alone. The Republicans are still leading with over 1 million ballots, where the Democrats have returned around 800,000.
Or when the results will be released?
Well, the first wave of results will come in around 8 p.m. Well, the first wave of results will come in around 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So in about an hour and a half from now, the first wave of results will come in around 8 p.m., which will include up to 55% of the total vote. However, Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richard announced that it will take at least 10 to 14 days to finalize the results here in Arizona. I spoke with one voter who told me which policies are most important to him.
My hope is in that moment about immigration, about the support Ukraine, and about the liberty of women. You know, every woman, every person has the right to decide for her, you know, but the life is important. Everything is important at the moment.
Now the polls close at 7 p.m.
Most people go, let's not fuck with them. Let's not mess with them. That's what I'm looking for. We need a kinder, gentler military. No, we don't. No, we don't. Are you fucking kidding me? Boys. U.S. election. Donald Trump. Yeah, did Fox call Arizona yet? Have these assholes at Fox given a little bit of Arizona? The sundown state? Oh, what the fuck is Arizona called? Whatever Arizona's called. The prickly state. You guys fucking cactuses. Fuck Arizona. It's hot. It's either hot or cold, and there's fucking plants that will eat you in that place. Anybody who lives in Arizona is insane. Pay for Mug Club? Yeah, I'm here. Oh no, Salty Army is the best army, and I don't you motherfuckers forget. Thanks, Allie, man. I like you more than a friend. Thanks, old metalhead. Man, appreciate it. So, there's Tennessee. Looks like Mississippi. They've called Florida. Have they called Florida already? That can't be right. Was it that bad? Was it that bad for Kamala that they've already called Florida? Holy shit! Fucking obliterated. We should pull up Chunky Yogurt Stream. Chunky Yogurt Stream in 2015 was the best fucking stream ever. They start off and they're celebrating, they're doing drugs and blowing each other. And as the night goes on, you could see the despair in their eyes, their beady little shitburger eyes.
13-point lead, and that's not a big surprise here. Neither is this one. A 7-point lead for Kamala Harris among ages 30 to 44. Trump, a 6-point advantage here among ages 45 to 64. But this is a bit of a surprise to me. Kamala Harris, a 1-point lead here among those aged 65 and older. Again, these are preliminary numbers for national numbers here.
Fascinating, Dave. One of the numbers, the stats that you just threw out there from the exit polls was that 55% advantage among Jewish folks, because there's a huge Jewish vote, as we all know, in Pennsylvania. So if that translates there, it'll be very interesting to see how Pennsylvania plays out. Talk to us, Dave, about the switch voters out there.
Yeah, let's look at some of those the switch voters here. National numbers here. In 2020, among those who voted for Joe Biden, we've got a 5%. 5% of those have switched over to Donald Trump here in 2024. Meanwhile, for Harris, a 4% she's taken of the Trump voters from 2020. So
Slight advantage there for Donald Trump. Now, if we go into Pennsylvania, now they're obviously a very crucial swing state here. I want to take a look at some more exit poll data here. College grads, this is not a big surprise here. These numbers, blue numbers again, these are leads for Kamala Harris, while Trump a 14-point lead for non-college degrees. But if you look at some other interesting ones here, this is a very interesting one. Union households, of course, union's a big thing in Pennsylvania. Kamala Harris, 56% of those votes compared to Trump's 43%. Let's take a look at number one here. Do your favorite fracking in Pennsylvania? 55% said yes, 37% opposed. But if you look at then how those voted, those who opposed, 81% were for Kamala Harris. Drill, baby, drill, though. Trump, 70% of those favor it. So some very interesting numbers there, right there in Pennsylvania.
A lot of fascinating data coming in as polls continue to close and votes continue to come in. Obviously, exit polls showing some possible snapshots in time. We will have to see what the real poll says at the end of the evening. In the meantime, let's toss it to Arlene and Tiff in the studio.
All right, Steve, thanks for that. We will get to Arlena in just a minute, but right now let's look at the race to 270, the electoral map here right behind me. As you see, more colors are filling in right now. Right now it does look like more are for Donald Trump, the Republican candidate. Some are flipping blue for Kamala Harris, the VP, who is running for president for the Democratic Party. Many, though, that yellow on the screen you're seeing means it is too early to call right now. So we'll be seeing those colors filling in throughout the night. Again, the magic number tonight is 270. That's the number of electoral votes you need to win the White House, which is what tonight is on. Right now, Trump has 101, Harris 52. Obviously, we're still waiting for California. A lot of blue numbers coming in later, so we'll keep you updated as the night goes on. But now let's go over to the legal hub with NTD's Arlene Richards. Now, Arlene, night is, moving on. We're getting some results as we just saw there. Litigation is also moving on, but let's zoom out a bit here. We just heard from Steve and Dave Martin at the Data Hub about, Pennsylvania, a very big state, crucial battleground state tonight. 19 electoral votes on the line in that state. There's been a lot of lawsuits filed just in Pennsylvania. Given that, how significant are the lawsuits that have been filed so far?
As you say, in Pennsylvania, the number and range are massive, actually. So we'll start here with Republicans, right? They're filing lawsuits over multiple issues. You've got mail-in ballots, you've got voter rolls, voting machines, and also drop boxes. But Pennsylvania, it has a high volume of mail-in voting. So the majority of these cases are about mail-in ballots. Now, Republicans are concerned about voter fraud, so they're asking for more restrictions on these rules. But Democrats are also filing lawsuits, and what they're doing is they're challenging the rules that reject mail-in ballots. Now, these are the same rules that Republicans are pushing for this information that's missing from the ballots, dates, signatures, and this sort of thing. And the courts, they're actually making rulings that will allow for these rejected ballots to be counted. So here, we talked about this earlier this evening. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled that voters have to have an opportunity to cure these undated ballots. So if they make a mistake, they're notified and they're able to correct it and have their ballot count.
And Arlene, wasn't there another ruling recently that expanded this?
There was. More recently, there was a ruling that said voters can submit provisional ballots. Now, these are ballots that would be submitted in place of the rejected ballot. We've had some of this going on across some of the counties during this early voting, and also this evening, from what I'm hearing, is that they're asking people to fill out a paper ballot because the lines are so long, and rather than wait in the long lines, they're offering to have them fill out a provisional ballot. But the only problem with that, or concern that people might have, is that if you don't fill that out properly, if you're missing a date or if you don't have your signature on it, it won't count. So, this is something that they're offering, but people are concerned about it because those provisional ballots are the last ones to be counted.
Definitely a lot to watch for here, especially with those 19 electoral votes on the line. Arlene, thanks for that breakdown. And Steve, back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Tiffany, for that deep dive into some of the legalities. Let's go over to our team in Washington, D.C. now for an update on the balance of power. What's the latest?
Hi, Steve. So I told you when you came back to us in D.C., we'd update you on the balance of power and key House races, and that's what we're going to do right now. Let's start with an overview of what the balance of power looks like. We see Democrats about 25 less than Republicans, but we know we're going to get a better picture of this, Luis, throughout the night as those key polls come in from New York and California, key races where Republicans have to hold their seats. Now, when we look at Ohio's 13th district, this is the key toss-up because this is one seat that's currently held by a Democrat, Emilia Sykes. She's running for re-election. Republicans have eyed this as a seat to flip to offset some potential losses that they could see on the coastlines of New York and California. So this is what we're watching. 37% of the vote is in. We have to wait, of course, until that number gets to 100 before we know how this race is going. Over in Pennsylvania, there are 3 that we're watching there, the 10th district as well as the 8th and the 7th district. The 10th district is held by Republican Scott Perry right now. This would be an interesting race to watch because if Democrats are able to flip this seat, this is what they've been hoping for. They've campaigned strongly in Pennsylvania's 10th district. Luis, you mentioned this earlier in the night. It's definitely one to watch. 15% of the votes are in. Democrat looks up. We have to wait for more results to come in. The 8th district is held by a longtime Democrat Congressman, Matt Cartwright. He tried to tread a moderate line here, especially on issues like abortion, Luis. 7% of the vote is in. Democrat looks up, but we have to wait, of course, until more results come in. As for the 7th district, that's another one we're watching. Very little results are in, 7%. Democrat looks to be leading, but we have to wait to see what comes out of this race.
Yeah, and Steve, if we want to look at the Senate balance of power, very interesting things. Obviously, it's early in the night, so the data's still coming through. But if we look at how the Senate balance of power is shaping up, we're seeing that Texas is on the side of Republicans, leaning red. Senator Ted Cruz, the incumbent, is holding the line with more than 42,000 votes ahead of Congressman Colin Allred, Democratic contender, with only 50% of the votes. If we look at the Democrat side of the Senate, we see that as of right now, with very little votes counted, we have Elisa Slotkin, Democratic Congresswoman, vying in for the empty seat left open by Debbie Stabenow, leading over Mike Rogers, former congressman. And we go to Pennsylvania, battleground state for the race to the White House for the Senate. We see Senator Bob Casey seeking re-election, son of a former governor, strong name recognition, leading in the exit polls with 9% of the votes counted. And Ohio, another very interesting bellwether for the presidential. We're going to see if ticket splitting is a thing this election cycle. Right now, with only 5% of the votes, we have Sherrod Brown with only 3 percentage points ahead of the Democratic candidate Bernie Moreno. So going back to the balance of power, Melina, here, earlier today we were seeing actually Texas on the blue side, but as more votes and more data comes in, we get a better and clearer picture. We're waiting in the next 30 minutes or so for Wisconsin, another battleground state for the Senate, and also the race to the White House.
Right, and key races in New York, the polls are going to close there at 9 p.m., so come back to us soon. We'll have more for you about those races.
Fascinating stuff coming out of D.C. We'll be checking in with our team there as the night goes on. And next, joining us online is Geraldo Rivera, correspondent at large with News Nation. Geraldo, great to have you on the program.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. Listen, if you in Pima County, still go down there and vote. No. These fucking people need to be politically curb stomped. Politically curb stomped. All right. Malcolm Flex says 101 to 71. What are we doing here? Yeah. Come on, Georgia. Let's go. Let's go, Georgia. Don't be stupid, Georgia. And what the fuck's going on here? Fix this. Fix that PA. Thanks, Sid. Yep. God bless America. I hear that. We've got the left-hand side pulling out all of their diddlers, boys. Today you got Joe Rogan. Yeah, I don't know. On one hand, I don't give a shit about endorsements. Like, I don't give a fuck. I don't base my vote off of anybody in sports or like fucking movies. Endorsements. I mean, excuse me, that's disgusting. I'm not going to, shit on somebody endorsing Donald Trump. But I'm also kind of like, well, I don't care. It doesn't resonate with me. So I guess I understand that it resonates with other people. But Joe Rogan finally last night endorses Donald Trump. And I'm like, of course you're endorsing Donald Trump. What? There's only two people that could possibly be elected as president, right? Dr. Cornel West isn't going to win. Jill Stein isn't going to win. It's Donald Trump or this Cackle chick. And nobody wants Cackles to win. For fuck's sake, you fled California. You fled California and New York. These are beta tests for the globalist agenda that's masquerading around as the Democrat agenda. You fled that place. How dare you flee California, head to Texas, and not... This endorsement, by the way, as great as it is to, I guess, have it for right-leaning people who give a shit, I don't know how this works, but where the fuck was this last week when it was... Seems like this would have been a little bit more useful last week, asshole. I don't know what bug is up my butt with Joe Rogan, but it's up there, right? Reporting in from Maine, voted red all across the board tonight. Polls closed at 8. Waiting for the results. Long live the racist Nazi orange Cheetos man. Matt, thanks, bro. F my 500. Let my betting streak ride. Boom! Tinderbox, thank you. Looks like he raised to a peanut. That's disgusting. Pulls this up. There's Joe Rogan, and they got a Joe Rogan-sized endorsement today for Kamala Harris. That's right. Oh, shit! It's Kate... What is going on? Oh, shit! Oh, look at... Oh, we're besties!
Let's do it. Where's Doug? Where'd Doug go? Doug's right here. Doug. Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys.
It's over, boys. She's got the Orlando Bloom. Is it 2001? Nobody gives a fuck about Orlando Bloom. What happened to this dude? What happened to this dude? Was Legolas. Do you guys that trilogy's old enough to drink? I think at this point. Holy shit, we're so old, guys. We're so old. No country for old men, boys. Has he done anything in the last 30 years? Here he is with Katy Perry, and they're voting for Dougie! We support you, Doug, and your ongoing litigation against the Doug character for utilizing your likeness and lameness. That wasn't real. That was a stupid, horrible Saturday Night Live. You're fucking stupid. Why would anybody listen to any of these fucking people? Why would anybody listen to Joe Rogan when it comes to voting? Why would anybody listen to Katy Perry when it comes to it? If you are so fucking stupid that you get your politics from any of these idiots, you fucking shouldn't be allowed to vote in the first place. We're going to revoke your ability to vote in the future. We're going to find you. Oh my God, the woman who goes, I got fireworks from my titties. She's gonna vote for Kamala Harris. You're gonna vote for... You're fucking stupid. Fuck, you're stupid. Excuse me. Have yelled at Abe more than George this month. You're racist. Like, thanks, you're red blood. I ain't yelling at... I'm not...
Despite the way he refused to yield power last time. You know, if that's what a majority of the American people want, then, you know, that's fine. I just hope that whichever way it goes, and that's my headline, whichever way it goes, the winner can claim victory and the loser will graciously concede defeat. If that goes on, if it's all I ask, that you have this peaceful succession, one following the other, that's fine. Everybody's cool. We go on, nurse our wounds, maybe mutter a bit that, oh my God, had this happen to us, you know, lick our wounds and go on as one nation, indivisible, you know, and so forth.
Geraldo Rivera, correspondent at large with News Nation. Really appreciate your perspective. Thank you.
I'm delighted. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, and we do have some more NTD projections for you all. First up is the state of Arkansas. 6 electoral votes at stake here. Donald Trump is the projected winner. That is with 13% of the votes in. Again, this is the race to the magic number of 270. New Jersey, NTD is projecting Kamala Harris the winner there. 14 electoral votes over to the Democratic side. This is with 31% of the votes in. And the state of Delaware also going to Kamala Harris. She is the projected winner. NTD is projecting her 3 electoral votes there. That is with 45% of the votes in. And of course, the state of Illinois, again, also going to Kamala Harris to the Democratic ticket. This is 19 electoral votes at stake in that state. That's with 12% of the votes in. Georgia, too early to call still. 16 electoral votes on the line there in the Peach State. A lot of attention will be on the state tonight. That is with 62% of the votes in. We'll see if we can project that later for you. Florida, 30% of the votes in. It seems like right now it is still too close to call. It does look like Trump is leading in this state. That's with 92% of the votes in there. That is the state of Florida. And New Hampshire, too early to call still. 28% of the votes in. 4 electoral votes at stake here in the state of New Hampshire. Potential bellwether there. Let's move on to some governor races or gubernatorial races. The state of Delaware, the projected winner is the Democrat Matt Mayer. That's with 44% of the votes in. And another governor race, Indiana, the projected winner is going to the Republican side, Mike Braun, there with 52% of the votes in that state. And Vermont, the projected winner, also going to the Republican Party, Phil Scott there, 47% of the votes in. It's a win for the Republicans there. And West Virginia, the projected winner, another win for the Republican Party, Patrick Morrisey, 40% of the votes in there for that state, West Virginia. And let's bring it back to the map. There you have it, the electoral vote map, the race to 270, that magic number of 270 right now. Trump leading with 101 electoral votes. Kamala Harris moving her numbers up now to 71. Still several states there. The yellow means it's too early to call still. So those numbers will be coming in and those colors will be filling in on the map as it goes to either party throughout the night. Of course, still basically half of the country, we're still waiting for those numbers to come in. So we'll have a lot more for you in just a few minutes. And Florida has actually been called now. Florida voters are rejecting the abortion rights amendment and are keeping in place Governor Ron DeSantis' 6-week ban there. And as we were saying, Florida has been called. The projected winner there is NTD is projecting Donald Trump is winning all 30 electoral votes there. That's with 92% of the votes in. So that is the state, the Sunshine State of Florida. So let's bring it back now in studio to our guests, Ambassador Carla Sands, Dante Mills, Gerard Filitti, and Joshua Phillip. Now, earlier when Geraldo was speaking, he was saying about Trump seems to have 9 lives. He's been surviving a lot of things here. You know, on that note, we heard some chuckles in the room here on that aspect, but it could be surprising. You saw a lot of people after January 6th saying, oh, Trump can't recover from this. We've seen all these different lawsuits thrown at him. You know, he's now called a convicted felon, all these different things. What do you think about Trump, Carla, that he could come back from that? Why are voters still rallying behind him?
Well, because the truth and the facts are on his side. For instance, before January 6th event, he actually asked for 10,000 National Guardsmen to be called out because he says there's going to be a big crowd. In fact, he said it was probably his biggest ever. He asked for 10,000. Nancy Pelosi and our DOD rejected his request and did not fulfill it. So I do not hold him accountable for what happened. He asked for his supporters to peacefully and patriotically protest. That's the correct and constitutional way to do it. But there's also sort of the lawfare and weaponization of government that has occurred against Donald Trump, where they tried to put him in prison for over 700 years. Never happened before to a former president. They tried to, and that's by targeting him. They raided his home in a pre-dawn raid, went through his personal effects. Never happened to a former president before. That had to be okayed by Harris and Biden. They tried to take away his companies, bankrupt him. The amount of weaponization of government has not, we haven't even seen 10% of that against any former president in the history of our country. So we are in unprecedented times. The American people reject this weaponization of government. They want the constitutional rights for every American, including former presidents, The fact that they've tried to prevent him from having attorneys work for him. They're literally, the attorneys on the left are saying, we're going to take out any attorney that works for President Trump or Republicans. If they're going to do that and not allow representation, how far has our country fallen, and how the voters, I believe today, are rejecting this?
And Dante, you're an attorney. I'll let you weigh in.
As an attorney, I have to stand up for our justice system. President Biden didn't have to approve anything, one, and
Oh, of course
no
he did.
attorney.
To go into a former president's home,
No, he does not.
I promise
No
you,
attorney
he knew and
cannot-
okayed it. He had to okay it.
No attorney can stop another attorney from representing someone. That's just not true. It can't happen.
But they're taking their
but I
law
will- but I will
licenses
say
in the
this.
state bars associations.
If they do illegal activity or rules against professional conduct. That's the key component that you seem to be missing. President Trump was convicted of a felony because he committed a felony. Because a jury got the case.
That was a civil case.
No, I'm talking about the criminal case where he was convicted of a felony. The jury got the case. They got
He
the
has
facts
not-
of the case.
he has not been
and they
convicted of a-
convicted him
he has
of
not
a
been
felony.
convicted of a
33 of them. Yes,
It's
they
not
did.
true.
We can't just change the facts. That happened.
It's not
Whether
true.
you say he should have been charged or not is different than whether or not an independent jury evaluated the facts and decided that he was guilty. Now, I think to answer your original question,
In a
Tiffany,
very
how can former
anti-Trump
President
area.
Trump come back from that? Because he's phenomenal at controlling the narrative. That's why he's president. He's very good at what he does.
He has
But-
almost no media, so I don't know how you say he's
just let Dante
controlling the
finish his
narrative.
thought.
But if you make it taboo, which he did, he controlled the narrative to the point where he made it taboo for Vice President Harris or anybody else to talk about the fact that he was convicted of a crime. That's phenomenal for him to be able to do that.
He was found liable in a civil
And you should be
court.
able to talk about it because he was found guilty by a criminal jury.
It's not true.
He was found guilty by a criminal jury. That is true. So to act like it's not true, or to say if you bring it up, then you're wrong, that's why he's able to survive, because he's phenomenal at controlling the narrative. But we saw it, right? It was on TV. It happened. Everybody witnessed this criminal conviction, and you can't act like it doesn't exist.
Certainly a spirited discussion. We haven't even gotten to the fact that Floridians have voted against the Abortion Act there yet. So that will be, I'm sure, a contentious topic to discuss. In the meantime, let's quickly go over to NTD's Kevin Hogan at our data wall.
Votes coming in Georgia, you get 63% statewide. Trump has a lead of about 5 points, but again, a lot of votes to be counted. But for example, let's just zoom in, like you were saying, on the Georgia metro area and see if Harris is hitting those margins that she needs to get. Because again, it was a close race last time. So let's see how she's doing in comparison to Biden. So right here, Harris has about 40, let's see, that would be about 53 points. And back in 2020, that's about a 46 points. So doing a little bit better in Fulton County, as you can see there. And then, or actually, the margins are very close. But look at this, just in DeKalb County alone. So Harris is up, let's see, that'd be 62 points. Whereas back in 2020, that's about a 66.68. So again, not quite seeing exactly the support that she needs to get out of these very densely populated areas of Atlanta Metro. And again, you go to Gwinnett County right here in 2024, we're just going to zoom back into what we're talking about. We're looking at only about 16% of the vote in. So that's, it's a 22-point spread. And then, that's way more than Biden was able to get 18 points. But again, it's still very early in the night. So when you look back out at the state level here, we're going to go back to 2024 and the live results that we're seeing. Again, we can go back to some of these more rural counties to kind of catch wind of exactly what's happening with those rural voters and voters of color. For example, Twiggs County has 99% of the votes in. Trump showing about a 15-point spread, and Biden had, Trump was up by Biden by about 7 points. So that's a 5-point or 6-point advantage that he's gaining there. So that could be a good sign. But again, this state is very close. We're going to have to keep an eye on it. And back to you at the desk.
All right, thanks, Kevin. A lot more coming up at the top of the hour. Stay with us. And now you're looking at a live shot of the Trump headquarters. That's the outside of Harris's headquarters, if we can bring that up on screen, Howard University. But on the left or your right, depending on how you're looking at it, that is an inside look at the Trump campaign headquarters. And there we have it on screen, an inside look at the Harris campaign headquarters watch party for tonight. A lot of energy at both right now. Still pretty early in the night, so we'll have a lot more for you as, more information comes in. And in less than a minute, we're away from 9 p.m. Eastern when 11 states will be closing. So we'll have a lot more for you in just a few minutes. Stay with us.
Amazing grace, how
Underneath to be able, I brought my daughter to the voting today, so she knows that she can kill her baby in the future. Yeah, you wouldn't have to. How old's your kid, by the way? Guys, how old is this human over here? Maybe don't raise your daughter to be a whore. Oh, not really. No, you totally are. Listen, your entire political opinions are formed by whores, because this is what the Democrat Party, this is what the globalist party, this is what they serve up to you, and you fucking idiots lap it up, and then you wonder why you we're in a situation where the only reason why you're voting is because somebody's skin color and you're promised abortions. Yeah, you should probably ask why we need so many abortions. How about that? No, you don't want to ask that? Maybe our civilization's taken a wrong turn. Maybe our humanity has been chipped away, stolen, poisoned. Maybe our culture has been fucking poisoned. Maybe we should start asking ourselves why everybody needs to have so many fucking abortions. Well, it's because everybody's being raped. Well, then why aren't we arresting all these rapists?
Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a
pussy on WAP, you know what I'm saying? A lot of you bitches got the dab dry ass pussy because y'all pH balance is so.
Somebody running for president. And they said, we need this is what we need to put out the vote. Right? These same people told you that Tony Hinchcliffe cost Donald Trump the election. The same people were like, oh my God, they went on for a week, they're still screaming about fucking Puerto Rico. A stupid fucking joke about Puerto Rico. Meanwhile, this chick who is roofing dudes and robbing them and speaks like this is a paragon of Kamala virtue. Fucking crazy. Yeah. This is why you guys want free, unrestricted, unfettered, unrestricted, no limitation abortion, because you idolize that. Because you let that thing right there speak for you. You let that thing shape your politics. You let that thing into your culture.
Look inside the Trump campaign headquarters watch party tonight, and also the Harris there on your screen. That split screen is what you're looking at over there. Again, lots of energy tonight. Night is still pretty young, and we do have some more NTD projections for you, so we'll be bringing that. You'll see those numbers right now. Right now, state of Colorado, too early to call still. That 0% you're seeing on screen means less than 1% of the votes are in. 10 electoral votes at stake in that state. Iowa, also too early to call. Again, you're seeing those numbers on screen. That means it's just under 1% of the votes in for that state. And Minnesota, also too early to call there. Again, you're seeing that number. That means less than 1% of the votes are in so far. 10 electoral votes at stake in the state of Minnesota. And New Mexico, also too early to call. We did see Donald Trump campaigning down there. If he wins that state, it could be quite an upset. So a lot to look out for there as well. Still too early to call in that state. And Wisconsin, also too early to call. You might remember those cheese hats at both the RNC and the DNC. So a lot of focus on Wisconsin tonight as well. 10 electoral votes at stake in that state. Again, less than 1% of the votes are in so far. Louisiana, we are projecting Donald Trump winning that state. 8 electoral votes there. This is a win for the Republicans. even though that is with that number of less than 1% of the votes in. And North Dakota also going to the Republican side. NTD is projecting Donald Trump the winner there. 3 electoral votes in the state of North Dakota. That's with 4% of the votes in so far in that state. South Dakota as well, also going to Donald Trump. Another win for the Republicans. 3 electoral votes there. Again, that's with less than 1% of the votes in that state so far. Wyoming also going to Donald Trump. Another win for the Republicans. 3 electoral votes there. Again, less than 1% of the votes in for that state. Nebraska, too early to call. That's with 26% of the votes in. 2 electoral votes at stake there. Again, we'll break down why it's so important to look at Nebraska there. Essentially that blue dot as well over there. So we'll be keeping an eye on Nebraska there for you. New York going to Kamala Harris, flipping blue there. 15% of the votes in, 28 electoral votes in the Big Apple there. And now behind me, you see this map again, the electoral map, as we try to get both sides to that magic number of 270. Trump right now with 118. Kamala Harris with 99, inching in on that lead that Trump was having there. Again, all of that yellow you're seeing on the map means it is still too early to call, so we'll be seeing more colors coming in. So to break down what all of this means tonight and what counties we should be looking at, let's head on over now to Kevin Hogan at the data wall here. Kevin, a lot of votes just come in. Talk to us about Georgia. 16 electoral votes on the line. Seems it's too early to call still. The Peach State, very important tonight. What are you looking at?
Yes, that's exactly right. So we're looking at Georgia's metro area. This is Atlanta, Fulton County, and DeKalb County. These numbers are changing as we go, so even if I write something, they may change right underneath it. But, for example, former President Trump is doing better in both of these counties. 3 points in Fulton County, most populated in the state, and 2 points in DeKalb County. So we'll just zoom in on that for just 1 second. You have 60% of the votes in, so that 2-point increase in his margin, again, it's a blue area, but if he's able to cut in those margins, it could make a big difference. So again, you have to count all these votes because we don't know exactly which precincts they're counting and how they may lean, if they're a little bit more blue or less blue. But so Fulton County, again, 3-point advantage to Trump. So that's a little bit of a good sign for him there. Again, a lot of votes still to be counted. I'm just going to shift over right now to southeast Georgia. And this is where Harris made her campaign stop in that bus tour. This is Chatham County. That's Savannah. And now this only has about 6% of the votes in, so I haven't even computed that because it might be a little bit misleading. So we're going to look at this whole county group as one district that has a very purpley swing to it, and it's very, very high battleground. If you just look, for example, Effingham County, former President Trump is down about 1 point, so Harris is making a little bit of ground in Trump country a little bit, and also then you go down to Bryan County. I just wrote that up here. Trump's doing 3 points better than his performance against Biden in 2020. So again, that's looking good. And then here, this county went to this is Liberty County. It went to Biden and Hillary Clinton, and now Harris is carrying it. But again, those margins are just 3 points less or 5 points less than what she needs to be at on par in 2020. Because you remember, this was a very close race. So if we just zoom in on a couple of those key areas, we can kind of get an idea of where this race is heading.
All right, Kevin, thanks for that breakdown. We will be returning to you throughout the night. Steve, back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Tiffany. And now let's go to NTD's Melina Wisecup and Luis Martinez, who give us some updates on the House and the Senate.
Yes, let's look at how the House is looking so far with the latest information from the Data Hub. So with the latest information, we can see that out of the 435 seats, Republicans are holding on to 72, Democrats 240. Now let's look at that map. There's some key battleground and key bellwether races that I want to talk to you about. The first one is in North Carolina, the 1st District. This is a seat that is being defended by Democrats. Dawn Davis is defending that seat against Lori Buckout. 1st District of North Carolina hasn't elected a Republican congressman since 1883. The district was redistricted during the past 2 years, and there's a large black population in the 1st District of North Carolina. So very interesting to see that with 52% of the votes, Democrats are holding the line. So that means that the get out the vote operation might be working. Again, only 52%, so this might change. 2 other very interesting races, Melina, in the state of Virginia.
Yep.
over there.
Virginia, there are two races here that we're watching, two toss-ups. One is Virginia 7th District, the other is the 2nd District, one held by a Democrat, the other by a Republican. This is the Democrat-controlled district. There's no incumbent here. The Democrat Abigail Spanberger is now running for governor. It looks like the Democrats were able to hold on to this race, so it's looking good for them. There's only 71% of the vote in. But moving on to the 2nd District, this is a Republican-held district by Jen Kiggins. But this one is important because this is also a race that Republicans were able to take from Democrats, Luis, back in 2022. So this is a race where Democrats think they have a chance of taking back the seat. But 32% of the votes are in. Jen Kiggins is on top, but we have to wait, of course, for that number to reach 100.
Yeah, the data keeps them coming in. Let's look at what the state of New York is looking at right now with the latest polls. So if we go to the 17th District of New York, we go Mike Lawler, a very important toss-up race in the 17th District. He is with only 2%, obviously very early on, besting the Democratic candidate. The latest polls had Mike Lawler as of yesterday ahead of Democrats, but that's one of those 4 seats in New York, Melina, that Republicans managed to flip back in 2022, and Democrats are trying to reclaim in order to get to that majority.
Right.
Now, let's look at some of the Senate races. If we go to the state of Pennsylvania, battleground state for the presidency, battleground state for the Senate, we can see that Senator Bob Casey, the incumbent, son of a former governor, huge name recognition, besting Dave McCormick, only 18% of the vote, so we still got a long ways to go. We go to the state of Ohio. Very interesting here. Sherrod Brown, the Democrat, is defending that seat with 20% of the vote. He's behind Bernie Moreno, Trump-endorsed Republican candidate. So this is one of those seats that Republicans could flip and help have a cushion in that path to the majority in the Senate. And now, lastly, let's go to the state of Michigan.
Yep, over in Michigan, one of those toss-up races, just like Pennsylvania, one that would cushion that bare-bones majority for Republicans. This is a current congresswoman. She's a moderate congresswoman. There's only 2% of the vote. Let's not focus too much here because we have to wait for those results to come in. Let's see how Ted Cruz is doing in Texas over there. 57% of the vote in. Last time we checked, this margin was quite slim, but Ted Cruz has sort of carved his way out here. So it's looking good for Republicans, but again, only 57% of the vote is in for Texas, so we have to keep an eye on it.
And just to wrap up here, we go to the Senate balance of power. Let's remember Republicans so far with the latest data holding on to 46 seats, Democrats 35. Key number right here, 51 to majority. Back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Melina and Louise.
In studio here with us at the desk, Democratic strategist Danny Salas, former U.S. ambassador to Denmark, Carlos Sands, Doug Collins, former congressman from Georgia, and Robin Byro, former Obama regional campaign director and former Georgia congressional candidate. Thank you all so much for being here again. Doug, I want to start with you. Earlier we heard from Geraldo saying he's pessimistic actually about tonight's results. He thinks Trump is going to win given these early numbers coming in. What are you looking at right now? How does the night look so far?
What a shame for Geraldo's prediction, his endorsement as well. That was tough on him. I'm sorry. Look, I think right now we're seeing the movement in Trump's favor. It's slowly but surely. We're seeing it build in areas across the state. Let me predict, and I know y'all didn't pick out some of these counties. I'm going to pick some out in Georgia to talk about. Baldwin County, which actually CBS News went down on their Sunday morning show, did a big production about how this is a changing county in Georgia. Yep, it's changing. It flipped from Democrat to Republican. Trump won the county. Liberty County, down in that Savannah area, that Chatham County area. We also saw I think it was about a +4 or +5 move there. In Liberty County was a 6-point decrease for Democrats in that county right outside of Savannah. So what we're seeing is increasing numbers for Republicans in the Republican counties, and either holding on or maybe increasing a little bit. They did increase a little bit in Fulton. They did increase a little bit in Gwinnett, but it's not enough to offset what we're seeing. So I think we're just seeing that across the board. It goes back, I think, what we're seeing in these counties is those economic issues, those immigration issues are coming forefront. And as always, and again, I'm waiting for the election. I've been waiting for 45 years now for these these new voters that are going to overwhelm the system. They don't show up. They do come out. We get about 10 to 15% every year, both Republicans and Democrats, but that's a natural cycle. We still need to encourage and make that sure that they sign up and vote, but we've got to also figure out why they're not voting to start with, and I think that's a bigger issue.
On that last note, why they're not voting, Robin, what are you seeing in your own state? You know Georgia very well. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, so it was interesting. Georgia exit polling has already been out, and it shows that 7% of the voters that voted had never done so before, which sounds impressive until you realize the fact that 46.3% of registered voters in Georgia did not vote in 2020, and that is astonishing. That's the largest universe of voters out there. So both campaigns have been really trying to tap into that universe of voters, and you've seen them both, courting them and having rally after rally after rally in Georgia, dispatching every surrogate they can to Georgia. A lot has been invested, but I'm really not seeing it paying off right now for Harris tonight.
And before we get to the rest of the table, we do have another NTD projection we're going to be bringing all of you. So let's go to that right now. Again, we're projecting here. So the state of Ohio, NTD is projecting it is going to Donald Trump, a win for the Republicans, 17 electoral votes there. Of course, that is where J.D. Vance, his running mate, is from. Senator J.D. Vance there. That is with 52% of the votes in. So again, this is a win for the Republican Party. Again, this is the race to 270, that magic number we're looking for tonight. So that is our projection right there. Let's bring it back in studio here. Denny, I want to let you jump in here. With seeing more numbers coming in, of course, New York just went to Kamala Harris, probably not a surprise there. That would have been that would be the story of tonight. But what are you?
Trump said he was going to win after Madison Square.
He did say that. We saw Madison Square. We saw him campaigning and holding that rally in the Bronx, very deep blue Bronx. Yep. What are you seeing here now?
Look, in New York State, I think you have a couple of the battleground congressional districts where you have Mike Lawler in the Hudson Valley against Mondaire Jones. I think Lawler's going to win. And then there's no reporting yet, but I'm really interested to see the Larry Gillen D'Esposito seat in Long Island in the 4th. We don't have any numbers yet on that, but to a larger point, I think a lot of us on this desk right now are in agreement that Georgia is likely going to go to Trump. I think we all pretty much in agreement to that. But one of the things I remember texting one of my friends earlier this week, or late last week, I said, look, I think either Georgia or North Carolina is going to go to Harris. I don't think she gets both. If you look at the numbers right now in North Carolina, right now she's outperforming. I believe that gubernatorial candidate for the Republican, Mark Robinson, is being a drag on Trump and the rest of the Republicans. So right now she's overperforming a lot of the bigger counties that go typically towards Democrats, and Trump is either holding even or underperforming a number of the Republican counties. Granted, it's still early, so we're not seeing all the numbers yet. But right now, if I was a Harris campaign, I would be very optimistic about North Carolina.
Wow. And before we get to Ambassador, I'll let you speak as well. We do have another NTD projection, so let's bring that up on screen here for you. The state of Texas going, doesn't look like a surprise there. And the projected winner is Donald Trump there, 40 electoral votes. This is with 54% of the votes in. So the state of Texas, the Lone Star State, going to Donald Trump. And let's bring it back in studio. So, Ambassador, I'll let you comment on Texas and anything else you're watching for tonight.
Well, we all love Texas, right? And it was a tough race, I think, for Ted Cruz. I mean, he really had to fight on this one.
Chuck Schumer poured a lot of money behind already.
He did. He dumped a lot of money on him. And I'm not sure that Ted got a lot of support from our side. But when we look at Pennsylvania, Bucks County is a really important county in Pennsylvania. It was majority Democrat, and people like Scott Pressler and America First Works have worked to flip Bucks County to Republican. In fact, Pennsylvania is just a few 100,000 more Democrat registered voters than Republicans, where we were hundreds of thousands behind in 2020. So the work of Turning Point Action, Charlie Kirk's group, and other activist groups on the ground, the ballot chasing group with Cliff Maloney, these people are determined to fight for every vote and to get these young voters out, to get them registered to vote. So we can see, like Centre County, where Penn State is, it's a big college state. A lot of activists went there to help to educate the students, because usually they only hear one side of the political story. And so we had really a great success in Centre County. I think it's a county to watch.
And as you brought up Senator Ted Cruz in the state of Texas, we are still waiting to see if he has won or is retaining his Senate seat there. But given that Donald Trump is projected as the winner there, Doug, I want to get you to weigh in here. You know, we're talking about the balance of power tonight. It's not just the presidential race, a lot at stake in the Senate and also the House. Do you think we'll be seeing that split ticket voting in Texas? Could Senator Ted Cruz actually lose? Or given that Donald Trump is projected to win, is it likely that he's going to keep his seat?
I think it's very likely he'll keep his seat. I think it's probably the 2% now that you would see that him lose his seat. It's just simply the momentum there. There is some different issues. The presidential race, and you're going to see this tonight in looking at it, and I encourage the listeners and the viewers tonight to look. You got Montana, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. All are Senate races attached, all of which some of those seats are going to go to Donald Trump, and the Republican senator candidate probably is not going to win. There's just what the polling is showing. My hope is that they do, and they carry us along. And you're going to also see some that Harris may, have a chance at, where like in Pennsylvania, I think Trump's going to win Pennsylvania, but there is a possibility that Casey holds that seat. It's just, those are state level races. They're different, and sometimes you can see the pull. One that I would say that may see the most pull is Eric Hudby in Wisconsin. The Baldwin seat there, I've have some good friends up there who've been tracking that, they've been working that race, and over the last 3 weeks, sort of under the radar, Trump and Hudby both have been coming up, and to where they're overcoming the deficit in Wisconsin. And I think Wisconsin's very much in play for Donald Trump and Eric Hudby tonight. So it's going to be an interesting time, but there's just different dynamics that flow. The House, that's a completely different animal, because that's just, you look at some of those seats. I think we've underestimated some of the California and New Yorks, because as Danny said, New York races, we're going to win some of those races. We're going to retain them, and we may lose some others. And Iowa actually has some surprising House races that are going to come up tonight. Miller Meeks out there is a very close race, and others that come up in these presidential cycles. So we'll see.
They dumped a lot of money on her head.
A ton.
And as the table has been bringing up, Pennsylvania, very important tonight. Speaking of that, let's go to our own reporter, Jack Bradley, who is at the tabulation center in Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. So we know Pennsylvania, one of the most watched races of the night. Jack, what do initial results tell us so far now that votes are coming in?
Good evening, Tiff. Well, yeah, the initial results are coming in. We're seeing over 800,000 for Harris and over 600,000 for Trump. Harris is currently in the lead at 58%. Trump with 41%, and only 21% of the votes are in right now. Behind me here is the tabulation center in Philadelphia, the one and only, and they are counting ballots here. The polls closed at 8 o'clock here, but not in 2 counties in Pennsylvania. Of course, in Cambria County, they are staying open until 10 p.m. because the voting machines there, election officials say that they had some problems scanning those votes, so they decided to stay open until 10. And over in Luzerne County, they're staying open until 9:30 p.m. because one polling station opened late. And now, as far as the votes come in, we'll break you the latest here, right here from the tabulation center.
All right, and what is the general sentiment among the voters that you have talked to so far in Philadelphia?
Well, actually, it was quite a mixed bag here in front of the polling station.
Endorsed Donald Trump fucking weeks ago. But the thing with endorsements is that we're different people. Like the left side and
Them told me earlier. Take a look.
I'm all for women's rights, but it's the most important issue to me because I just feel that women should be able to pick and choose what they feel they want to do with.
For gas, and I think if you look at on the world stage, there's a lot of conflicts going on that may have been avoided.
It's just everything. Women's rights, but it's the tenor of the country. It's becoming very frightening. It's too much division, and I want someone that hopefully will put us back together. I mean, there's always been division in this country, but today it's scary, quite frankly.
Where Kamala Harris starts out with this massive advantage, and Donald Trump can't make it up. But here, ladies and gentlemen, the dumping ground has happened, and Donald Trump, as you can see there, the state is now going to just begin to turn bright ruby red with all these counties, all this Amish country through here. All of these counties will begin reporting, and this is not a good firewall. Now, we were very public about what was happening in Pennsylvania this morning. Pennsylvania is terrifying to Democrats because urban areas are just not showing up in the numbers that they needed to win. Black men are not showing up in the numbers they needed to win. And there are a stunning number of rural voters that showed up with a giant FU to Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and the regime that has made their the gas for their F-150s impossible to afford, or who are just, frankly, odious to the Amish who live in Pennsylvania in huge numbers. The worldview is poison, and Pennsylvania is tightening. Look at that, right before our very eyes. You can see it happening right before our very eyes. Whoa, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very exciting. Extremely exciting. A massive, massive call right now. Holy smokes. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. NBC News is showing favorable news for Trump in Arizona. In Arizona, Trump is leading with independent voters by 4%. In Wisconsin, Trump has doubled his black support. Trump has 20% of the black vote in Wisconsin. It will be impossible for them to win in Wisconsin if those numbers remain. In 2020, Trump won only 8% of the black vote in Wisconsin. Ladies and gentlemen, Pennsylvania and Arizona, the tide is turning. Check back on our map. We're going to live on our map, okay? We're going to live on our map. Here we go. Donald Trump at 69%. There it is. President Trump at 69%. Here we go. Back to the map. They called it. They called North Carolina. They've called North Carolina. Producers, let's go. Find me someone else who's called North Carolina. Find me someone else. They called North Carolina for Donald Trump. Decision Desk just called North Carolina for Donald Trump. This is a massive pickup. This was one of the harder swing states to win for Donald Trump. A massive pickup, much harder than like a Georgia or Arizona. They just called it for Trump. Look at that. Find me someone else. Find me something else. Find me the New York Times. I want the New York Times. I want AP. I want Fox News. I want somebody else calling North Carolina for Trump. This is massive. Massive. I don't.
And Arizona appears here again. Proposition 138, which permits employers to pay tipped employees like waitresses and waiters 25% less, right? So obviously if you're a waiter, you were going to sit out the election. Oh, no. You're not going to be sitting out that election in Arizona. You're going to go in, you're going to vote. And then the question becomes, are like, restaurant workers more or less likely to vote for Kamala or Trump? That becomes the question. So it would be an interesting analysis post-election to figure out, like, which way actually these ballot initiatives pushed the race one way or the other. And then one other thing I really want to highlight and I really want to mention is that ballot initiatives have a unique property where foreign actors can actually fund ballot initiatives. So foreign actors.
Now comes the moment. Now comes the moment. We're gonna say, let's do it. We got to do a Trump wins. We got to do Trump wins. I mean, listen, they've called it. They've called it. Decision Desk has called it, and we're going with Decision Desk today. So back to the map. Decision Desk has declared that Donald Trump is the winner in North Carolina. Donald Trump breaking away with 120,000 vote margin, 54% in. Fox News has called North Carolina, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Boom! Dance it up.
Later tonight, but of course we have a lot more prepared for you, so stay with us. And now you're going to be seeing live feeds from inside the Trump and Harris watch parties tonight, as they're also watching the results coming in. There for Trump, he's in Florida, and the Harris watch party is at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Those are live feeds that you're seeing right now. We'll have a lot more for you in just a few minutes, so stay with us.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Legal Help Center. This is where we have professionals standing by to answer your questions regarding personal injury. So,
Boy, Donnie, look at him go! 210! 210. Can you do math, John? You do math, John? We're 60 away. No whispering. No whispering. It's creepy. They were 60 away. 60 electoral votes away. Oh, and I'm feeling Georgia. Oh, baby, I'm feeling it. Look at Georgia right now, 72%. We're going to watch it. Georgia's going to happen live. Georgia's going to happen live, and I got a video to play for you. When Georgia gets called, we are going to, Killer Klein, we're going to put up our Fulton County video. We went to the hood in Fulton County, and we handed out MAGA hats. We handed out our MAGA hats, and they went like hotcakes, baby. They went like hotcakes. We're gonna celebrate by playing like the first minute. We're gonna talk with the great Eric the Creator, who is there with us in Georgia. That's what we're gonna do to celebrate. We have something very special for you to celebrate. We're gonna show you Fulton County, the county that's trying to put Trump in prison, that gave Trump a mugshot. We're gonna show you Fulton County. 72% in. You gotta call it. You gotta call it. You gotta call it. Look at this. 200,000 votes at 72%. You're not gonna be able to make that up. You gotta call Georgia. You gotta call Georgia. Ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it. Let's do it. Now my team is showing me something remarkable that is totally fraudulent and very strange. Here. It must be a massive error. Something insane is happening that this map is not showing you correctly. Here we go. This is Decision Desk saying that Kamala Harris has won Virginia. Ladies, are you watching from Virginia? Shout yourself out if you're watching from Virginia. A lot of patriots in Virginia. What are you talking about? Donald Trump is up by a...
Again, this is all just really early. You zoom in on Bucks County, and this is where Harris is picking up about 12 more points than Biden did, right? So she's got 26-point margins, and back in Biden was not able to get the same, maybe about 14, right? So she's doing well in these suburban areas, and those are going to be very critical because, again, these collar counties right here around Pennsylvania, they are very populated. They have more than 15 states individually and more than Philadelphia and Pittsburgh combined as cities. So it's an extremely important part of the state, and it could be critical in determining who decides who goes to the White House. So, but again, it's just too early to tell because, again, with only 17% of the vote, those margins might not necessarily be what we see at the end of the night. So we're still watching Pennsylvania really closely.
Kevin, what areas of Pennsylvania is Trump going to be looking for large portions of the vote to be coming in?
Well, definitely he's going to want to try to secure a big lead in, say, this Latino belt right here. So this is trending blue in the last 4 years, and so that's an area that he's trying to gain back some ground. Early vote totals tonight show that, for example, let's just take Luzerne County, right? So this has gone to the Republican Trump in the last two elections over Clinton and Biden. But right now, at 34% of the vote, we're seeing Harris pick it up, so kind of flipping that area. And again, you're looking at, about a 15-point spread that Trump was able to take. So if these voters continue to vote this way in the rest of the election, I mean, that could be a very, very significant portion of the vote. Oh, and I guess it just changed as we were looking at it. But still, Trump needs to get much bigger margins there in that Latino belt in order to be competitive in the state. Most likely, all other things being equal. So that's just one little snapshot that you can imagine. Because again, you look back, this is Trump country right here. It's very competitive, very purpley, but Trump's got to take a lot of these. Even looking down into Amish country, you can imagine, right? So Berks County, Lancaster County, it's got Reading. Again, a lot of Latinos there. But what we're seeing tonight is a little bit of shift blue in some of those counties.
It was very interesting to see how quickly things can change. He was trailing a lot in Luzerne, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's up. Right now, we do have an NTD projection for you. NTD is projecting former President Trump to win the state of Nebraska. That's 2 electoral votes coming out of the state of Nebraska with 32% of the votes in. And we're also projecting former President Trump to take Nebraska's District 3, 1 electoral vote coming out of District 3 in Nebraska with 16% of the votes in. And the state of Georgia, still too close to call. Former President Trump does have a healthy margin there, keeping a very close eye on Georgia. Those 16 electoral votes in the battleground state of Georgia, that's with 75% of the vote in. In the state of Virginia right now, former President Trump is up by a small fraction in the state of Virginia, too close to call. That's with 57% of the votes in. In the state of North Carolina as well, too close to call, 51% to roughly 47.5% to Vice President Harris. 16 electoral votes up for grabs in the battleground state of North Carolina with 56% of the votes in. In the state of Pennsylvania as well, too close to call, it looks like right now, 27% of the votes in, 19 electoral votes, and you can see the electoral map starting to fill in. 178 for former President Trump, 99 for Vice President Harris. Big part of the West Coast, still nothing in. All those yellows undecided. We'll be keeping a very close eye on all of the data as it continues to drop. In the meantime, we're going to send it over to Tiffany at the desk.
All right, Steve, thank you for that. And as you mentioned, Georgia still too early to call or too close to call there. Let's go over to the Data Hub now with NTD's Dave Martin to break down some of these numbers that we're seeing. Dave, a lot of attention on Georgia, the Peach State. 16 electoral votes there. What are exit polls telling you about this state?
Yeah, well, we've got the latest exit polls. I'd like to take a look at some of them historically. Let's talk about state.
A direct demand for people to stay in line in Pennsylvania. There's a county called Cambria County. Polling hours have been extended to 10 p.m. The Laughlin Borough polling hours have been extended. These are because of lawsuits and because of machine malfunctions. We'll just call them that politely. In these extension areas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have one quick announcement, and then I want to go to a incredible mayor in a Pennsylvania. In this jurisdiction in Pennsylvania, we will win Pennsylvania. We're going to go to a mayor who can talk to us about the extensions, okay, for Republican voters. I think it's very, very important to drive that home, okay, as we watch the results. But we ain't going to miss one more Trump win. Louisiana for Donald Trump. Trump win. Let's go, baby. That's a perfect. I don't know why I worked for Louisiana. That's good. That's good. That's the great, sweet Cajun state marching on. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to talk Pennsylvania with Mayor J.D. with Mayor J.D. Longo, who was at Donald Trump's assassination attempt, who was standing right behind Donald Trump during the assassination attempt. The great mayor joins us now to talk about the important extension.
Point lead with the females, but it's a lot bigger here in North Carolina. 15-point advantage for Trump among the males, but a 12-point lead for Kamala Harris there. Now, if you look back at this historically, 2020, Trump had a 55% of the male voters. 4 years later, exactly the same. Let's look at really quick female voters. As you can see here, 2020, Joe Biden, a 9-point lead over Donald Trump. 4 years later, very close. Kamala Harris, a 7-point advantage here. So you can see here, very slight lead there for Donald Trump here in the state of Georgia among female voters.
Dave, of course, a lot of states to look at tonight. These are two of the key states, but what about, say, other states like Florida? What are exit polls telling you there?
Yeah, let's take a look at that. Florida, this is a very interesting one. Latino vote in the state of Florida. Donald Trump, 57% to Kamala Harris, 41%. So a 16-point advantage actually here for Donald Trump. Now, if you look back, look at this trend. Florida Latino voters, these numbers here are the number of Trump actually against the Democratic nominee. 2016, he was down 27 points here to Hillary Clinton. 4 years later, that was a 7-point deficit to Joe Biden. And now, according to the exit polls, it's a 16-point lead here for Donald Trump. So you can see, why he did so well in the state of Florida. Anyway, I'll be back, of course, with some more exit poll data for right now. Back to you at the desk, Steve.
Thank you for that, Dave. Interesting stuff coming out of there. And now let's go over to NTD's Iris Tao, who's at the Trump headquarters. Iris, what's the latest there at that watch party, and what are you hearing from former President Trump at this moment?
Good evening to you, Steve. So here at Trump campaign's watch party in West Palm Beach, we are seeing a lot of people already poured in, with hundreds of people gathered right in front of the stage, right there, closely watching the election results unfold on the big screen. Of course, waiting at the podium to see if anyone would come out to speak. We know that tonight Trump will be coming here at around 10 or past 11 p.m., and that's what he assumes if the election goes as usual. And he will be here to give a speech, let it be a victory speech, a concession speech, or something. That's neither of it. And of course, as we're waiting, we also are learning about what Trump is saying about the election. He's posting on Truth Social, urging people to stay in line to vote for him, especially in states where polls are still open until 10 p.m. Eastern time, and that includes Nevada and Montana, where Trump says, quote, if you're in line by the cutoff time, they must let you vote. He also posted this clip on Truth Social. Watch.
Republicans, we're doing really well. If you're in line, stay in line. Don't let them take you off that line. Vote. Stay in the line. They can't do anything about it. And vote. We're going to win it big. Thank you.
And while watching the election results, Trump also talked to a radio host based in Philadelphia, where he asked about his support in that biggest city in Pennsylvania, and also saying that if he wins Pennsylvania, we, quote, win the whole deal. Here's what he said. Watch.
And don't let them slowball you. You have an absolute legal right, and get that vote in, because if we win Pennsylvania, if we win the good old Commonwealth, we're going to win the whole thing. We win everything.
Meanwhile, Trump added that he was feeling confident about Pennsylvania on Monday, but was listening and hearing bad things on Tuesday. Election officials based out of Philadelphia have been pushing back against Trump's latest Truth Social post tonight, saying there has been massive cheating in Philadelphia. Election officials calling them untrue. Meanwhile, here in Florida, where votes are already 90% counted, the state has clearly moved to the right after 2020. Back in 2020, Trump won the state of Florida by just about 3 percentage points, but now he's carrying it by a much larger margin. And of course, they're waiting for Trump to come here, as we know that he's watching the election results at Mar-a-Lago with his friends and family. Back to you.
He's Iris Tao, great reporting from West Palm Beach.
And now let's check in with Jason Blair, who's in front of the Harris Campaign Watch Party headquarters. Jason, what are you finding out?
Considerable timing. The state of Michigan is telling us that Donald Trump will win. They may not win outright the Muslim vote, but will win in the 30%, the Muslim vote. Dude, stop putting Liz Cheney in your cabinet, Kamala. Yeah, it's a good lesson for you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment. This is the moment. We need to lock up Georgia. We need to lock up Arizona. And we need to call this thing 76%. And Donald Trump is now pulling ahead in Georgia. Look at this. Donald Trump pulling ahead in Georgia. Call it. Call Georgia. Do it. Call Georgia. Ladies and gentlemen, Polymarket has now launched into what will create potentially the single greatest meltdown in the history of national cable TV. Now I can see it on one of our production screens. We have MSNBC up. We have it up. Yeah, we have it up. We are monitoring the meltdowns. You will not. Why don't you show the people, the beautiful people who are watching? And thank you, by the way, to the chat. We love the chat. A shout out to you in the chat. We love the chat. We do this for you. We have a blast doing it. You're the energy that drives us. You're the wind beneath our wings. We will be monitoring MSNBC 4 tiers tonight. Donald Trump is winning the popular vote right now. The popular vote. So we're monitoring it, and there will be the greatest meltdowns in history live on MSNBC. You can check it out here on this channel. We will be bringing you that sweet, sweet sodium as it pours down their faces. Look at this. Donald Trump hits all-time highs in the Polymarket betting markets. The time is 9:44 p.m. We are waiting on Georgia. We are waiting on Georgia. Bring me Georgia. We have a special video. Bring me Georgia. We have important updates from President Trump at Mar-a-Lago. We're starting to get little videos from our little birdies who are all over Palm Beach right now. Palm Beach is where President Trump's victory party is. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll bring you plenty of behind-the-scenes footage of that. But we're too excited about it. We have it all stacked up, but I don't want to get to that. I already made one mistake tonight where I was too excited to talk about breaking news and to not focus on this map. We were going to stay
7% of the votes in so far. Just saw the numbers jump right there. State of Virginia, also too close to call. Could be a bit of a surprise tonight. 13 electoral votes at stake there. 58% of the votes in. Those numbers will
show you. All this is just Des Moines reporting, okay? I'm from Iowa. This is where I was raised. This is where I went to school. Went to the University of Iowa. Cut my teeth in politics in Iowa. I was the college Republican chairman of Iowa. Way back in the day. Young Benny. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just Des Moines. All the sniveling libs in Des Moines reporting. Iowa will be called for Trump in like exactly 10 seconds. So don't trust any of this garbage. All right? And that stupid poll, that Ann Seltzer poll, I'm going to excitedly throw that directly into the burn barrel. This is garbage. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to light a burn barrel on fire. We're going to break the code of the building. We're going to literally physically light her poll on fire. She said that Kamala Harris was going to win Iowa. Dude, the single dumbest take. I don't want to break from our map. I want to watch Georgia get called. I want to watch Georgia get called. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a exciting time. There are meltdowns that are happening across the country. I will break for President Trump at Mar-a-Lago. President Trump has been making little pop-ins. He's been doing the pop-in all day. President Trump's been doing the pop-in. President Trump at Mar-a-Lago doing the pop-in, walking in, getting applause. Let's go ahead and check in on the president. What's he look like, Klein? Let's see him. Okay, it's just some applause. My producers are telling me that there's no audio, meaning he doesn't speak in this clip. And the clip's playing all glitchy, Klein. So there we go. All right. There it is. Okay, so this is President Trump looking sharp. Had a legendary run. And you see Laura Trump. You see Barron Trump back there. Look at it, Barron.
I don't have a 32-year-old, but my 25-year-old and 20. When we talk about this, Copeland and Bo, and my older daughter Jordan, my youngest especially, he says, I just want somebody to be honest with me. Just tell me the truth. Don't tell me what they think they want to hear or anything else. So I think sometimes our campaigns are missing that because we have a generation of consultants, yes, you know who you are, both sides, that are speaking 20-year-old language. And I've been there, and we've all been there, but we've got to adapt the language to the group that's coming up and understand that their voting patterns are different than ours.
And Denny, on that note, you know, whoever wins tonight, do you see potentially that push towards bipartisanship, towards that more moderation, where, you know, future generations can trust politicians? That might be a tall order, but what do you see here?
Look, I hope so, and this is what I think. I think it's, on the national level, all politics is emotionally charged. I'll tell you, I'm Democrat, but I speak to Republicans every day. You know, I have to work with them. I work with elected officials, and they are Republicans. And I'll tell you, we all have so much in common because at the end of the day, we care about making sure our kids have a great school. We make sure that everyone has an opportunity to achieve the American dream. We make sure that anyone has economic opportunity to actually achieve upward social mobility. So all these things are universal truths on both sides. So a lot of people can disagree on the policy and how to achieve those particular goals, but that's okay. And you can do that without vilifying the other side. So I think that after this election, whoever's going to win, I feel like there is going to be a reset, because then you're going to accept, if you're Democrats, you're going to accept that Trump was speaking to a certain population of this country that felt left behind and definitely want something done to actually help them. And they're accepting of it, and then we're going to move on and see what we can do to work with them.
Robin, I want to get your thoughts on this. You know, sometimes when it comes to the very close toss-up races in the Senate and the House, by the Cook Political Report there, it does seem sometimes a question of gerrymandering comes in and how that impacts the races. And some are arguing that because of those districts, you have candidates like when AOC was running, she was running against a progressive candidate, but said that that candidate wasn't progressive enough, and she won on that. Like, who, you know, depends on the district you're in, who you're talking to. How do you see that playing in? And if we, I don't know if that can be changed, do you see a more bipartisan push if we didn't have that?
There are a lot of ballot measures, actually, this election, this cycle, that I'm anxious to see how it turns out, because, and some of the messaging is so misleading, because you'll see signs that say, vote no on one, and gerrymandering, and then those says, vote yes on one, and gerrymandering. So, you know, you've really got to get in there and do your due diligence as a voter to see what exactly the language is. And it really harms the young voters, because they're not really, this is some of their first times ever voting. They don't know what some of this complicated language means. And we have to explain to them. But look, I've just got to tell you, my job, the day after Hillary Clinton lost in 2016, or 2017, if you will, I had to go in there and give a keynote address to a whole group of people. And that message was, and I'm already planning it now in my head because it's not looking good for us tonight. I'm planning it now. Politics is local. Get involved at the local level. It affects your life much more so than these national election results tonight.
Definitely. If we could have bipartisanship here on this thing, I will agree with one thing. It is amazing how many people want to run for Senate, they want to run for governor, they want to run for Congress, and the ones who control your life are county commissions, city councils, school boards. And we overlook those races all the time. And then we understand, like, why did my school, this past year when we talk about parents and education, that's a school board decision, not a congressional decision, but yet we're staying out of those races. We can agree on both sides. That needs to happen more.
Absolutely.
And Ambassador, what do you see as the solution here then? Is it really that get local? It does seem like, you know, when you talk about the local vote, that does trickle up. Often we talk about trickling down impacts where people look at the presidential candidates, what their policies are, and how down the line that's going to impact them. But what we're just laying out here, right, it's like your school choices, those decisions, maybe your taxes too, depending on where you are, that's on the local level. Could we have a revolution, if you will, in that type of a change in the mindset where, hey, if I am really getting my neighbors out, we were hearing earlier, right, you get your friends out to vote, that impacts it on the upper ticket. But what do you see as the solution here?
So a couple of things. First of all, you're right. Everything is local. When I would register voters, it was one voter at a time, and you just grind it out. And that's the ground game, right? But I think that young men, most especially, and our sort of middle class have been feeling left behind and forgotten. Young men have are not going to college like young women are, like drastically lower numbers. And so many of their careers have stalled. If you look at the jobs, the new jobs, native-born Americans have lost over 500,000 in the past year, where all the new jobs have gone to immigrants. Well, you know, that's not progress for our young people coming out of college. The average American can't afford to buy a home. So I think that there are things where people are feeling forgotten, left behind. They want their piece of the American dream. They want the country to feel united. I really feel that that's a message that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have shared. They haven't demonized, they haven't done name calling in the way of calling the other voters on the other side harmful names. They haven't targeted with hostile titles like Hitler or using the word garbage. Like, they don't do that. They say we want one great America. So I think I'm hopeful, if the night is going the way it looks like it may, that we unify as a country and everybody does better.
We certainly did see that plea for unity with J.D. Vance coming out of the polling location this morning, saying that no matter who wins, there should be unity on both sides and we should come together as a nation. In the meantime, NTD does have another projection for you. We are projecting former President Trump to win the state of Missouri. That's with 10 electoral votes going into Trump's category there. I've looked at the Electoral College map. Former President Trump taking a lead, 188 to 99. Still very early. A lot of critical states, as you can see, in yellow and also in gray, meaning the polls haven't even closed yet, and the other ones are too close to call. The night is still young, hard to believe. Right now, let's go over to NTD's Kevin Hogan at the data wall to tell us more about Georgia.
Yes, that's right. And well, the news that I have to break for you is that Georgia is shaping up to be a very close race. Going to have to count all the votes. Former President Trump with the lead right now, a couple points with 80% of the vote in. But I crunched the numbers, and we can zoom in on the Atlanta metro area to find out a little bit more about what's happening in the state. So when you look at Fulton County and DeKalb, that's the city of Atlanta, former President Trump is improving on his performance last election by about 1 point. So, you know, you just drill down into some of these counties right here. You know, just for example, when you look at Fulton County, you got about 78% of the vote in. So if that holds, in the same with DeKalb, about 72%. If that holds, that means he's taking about 1 point in that area. Now, he's up about a point.
It's dumping all their returns right now. Even as we're talking, more and more are coming in. And, you know, Trump's got to win one of those states.
Man, Pennsylvania's getting close, bro. Pennsylvania's within a point and a half, effectively, for Donald Trump.
Pittsburgh and Philadelphia rushed to dump some early results, and it looks like there's just a lot of rural counties out there that haven't reported yet or have reported small numbers. And we all know the stories of massive rural turnout this time around in Pennsylvania. Yes. Looks like the New York Times model is starting to put it closer to Trump. And where are we at with Michigan starting to lean closer to Trump too? Wisconsin's more of a toss-up, but the betting markets are interpreting all very positively for Trump. So make of that what you will. Michigan's up to 64-36 on Trump. And so I think those people, listen, we've talked about how these markets are manipulated, but if you're going to manipulate a betting market, you don't do it with 5 hours left to go.
Right, dude. Bro, we're looking at all-time highs.
Yeah.
With Donald Trump. So here on screen we have 80%. Donald Trump has blown past the prophecy of 69,420 and is now at 80%. Camilla is down to 20, and she's just collapsed over the last 90 minutes. Kamala Harris is down 21 points.
Yeah, this is really great. Everybody says the Rust Belt polls, you know, the results are all going to be close. And I really hope that's the case, because if it comes down to one Rust Belt state that Trump's hanging his hopes on, you know they're going to drag it out. You know it's going to be 3 weeks. You know we're going to be rifling through overseas ballots, and I just don't think that's a good place for us to be in.
No, I could. You said that on the program the other day, and I was like, you know what? It's so bad for the country to have these things decided by lawyers. It's a horrible place for the country to be. And to have some lawyer come in and to, you know, manipulate the process and have it dragged out for days and weeks and months in the case of like an Al Gore, right? It's 39 days past the election that Al Gore finally conceded. So All right, so Pennsylvania. This is, of course, probably the next closest. You know, Georgia, I think, is in a really solid position. That's going to be, hopefully, no major shock there. Looks like President Trump is pulling ahead as well.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. What do we look for here? Let's jump into the map, and let's jump into
so
county by county.
I'm literally watching the percent tick up. It just went from 37 to 40%. So Pennsylvania is absolutely putting results out. And I can tell you the New York Times statistical model is perceiving all these returns to be better for Trump because the little going up. So what's happening is they're interpreting traditionally bluer areas and saying, well, it is adding to Kamala Harris's lead, but we expected to find more. And also, I think there's a lot of rural areas here that haven't reported, and they're going to find more than, oh, wow, it just went back, tightened again. So, yeah, Pennsylvania is about to break, it looks like to me.
Wow. So you're saying, and then that'd be amazing if it happened. It'd be amazing if it happens right now. Look at that. A point, Mark. Is there anything that has broken your model? Anything that's broken your model?
I know. I think, listen, I had Pennsylvania tied, Trump +1, Trump +3, Trump +2. Okay. I think we're going to see probably a 1 or 2 point Trump lead here at the end of the day based on the way things are going. But again, they're all toss ups. It all comes down to, did rural turn out more? Did Democrat turn out more or less? And what we've seen from the early vote and what we've seen from the polling is that Republicans said they were going to vote on Election Day. Election Day voters said they're going to vote Trump. And the early returns have been bad for Democrats, and independents are breaking more to the right than they were before. And so I think that, it's going to strain their model. We'll see, right? Like this could turn back left if are some prizes from more blue areas. But right now, it looks good. The statistical models are treating it well. The betting market's treating it well. Donald Trump just pulled ahead in Wisconsin with 35% of the vote in. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Let's pop back out and jump over there.
Yeah, I'm looking at a lot of this stuff for the first time. I've been talking for the last 2 hours, but
bro,
I think this is looking really strong. Listen, the fundamentals always supported this. The polling has been better than any of the previous 2 cycles. I don't even think at this point in time in 2016 Trump's odds were this high. So now the bet.
This is NTD, The Nation Decides 2024 Election Night. Here are Steve Lance and Tiffany Meyer.
And right now you're taking a live look into the Trump campaign headquarters where they're watching the votes come in, just as we all are. And you can take a look right there at the Trump headquarters, and we're going to take a live look at the Harris headquarters in Washington, D.C., where supporters are gathering there, awaiting, watching the votes be tallied. You can see polls right now have just closed. We do have some projections to make, and we're going to let you know when those come in. But for right now, we're going to go over with NTD's Kevin Hogan at the data wall. Kevin, Pennsylvania, it's becoming a bit of a horse race now. It was Harris was up substantially, and now former President Trump seems to be gaining some ground.
Yes, and part of that reason is because you can start seeing some of these very rural areas in this culturally conservative northeastern part of the state filling in, so it's a little bit less gray, and you're getting some more votes in those areas. Now, let's just zoom in on the Philadelphia area for a moment to start to understand this race. Again, because you're showing a very close race just decided by 0.1 points. That's at 42% in, so extremely close. But let's just take a look, for example, at Bucks County. Again, this is the Philadelphia suburbs. Right now, you see Harris with a lead of about 14 points, and that's with 24% in, so that's not to be ignored, but you can't put too much stock in that because it's just so early in the night. If you look back to 2020, Biden carried this by about 4 points, so that's a 10-point shift up for Harris. So if she can hold that, that's going to be a very good sign for her throughout this night, but it's unlikely that that is going to be the end result because, again, we're seeing a lot of these margins stabilize to more of what you would expect.
If I could ask you, Kevin, Bucks County, a lot of people are talking about it. If you could just give us an idea of how Trump performed in 2016 and 2020.
Yeah, exactly. So we can just go back really quickly. It was much more of a closer race, only decided by about a point down in Bucks County when Trump ran against Clinton, just trailing her about a point. And then Biden was able to make gains in the suburbs, sorry about that, and he was able to ramp those margins up about 4 points in his favor. So it has been shifting blue, at least in the last election cycle up until this one. But right now we're seeing Harris performing really well. So again, if that holds, that's a great sign because these are very populated counties, but we'll have to just wait and see exactly what happens to those margins.
And Kevin, can we take a peek over at the western part of the state in Allegheny County?
Yes, absolutely. So
and some of them may be bigger, and some of them may have more turnout, but it looks like the New York Times is running the math and saying there's more on the table for Republicans than Democrats right now, and so is Decision Desk.
Wow. Wow. So we watched it flip in real time. Mark, you're like you're the harbinger you're the Grim Reaper for Kamala Harris.
Maybe refresh your page, Benny. I don't know, right? Well, it's up to 45%. It keeps coming in. Yeah.
Wow. So there we go. Unbelievable. We just watched it flip. We just watched it flip live. You've been telling us this. Telling us this for months, Mark. Holy smokes.
Dude, yeah, imagine that. After a
horrible
Biden administration, Trump has a chance of winning. Imagine that.
Bro, I owe you a bottle of Blanton's, brother. You've been coming on and spitting facts, and you've educated our audience, and it's amazing. If you were to pick one, Michigan or Wisconsin, which one's going Trump?
Based on my polling, Wisconsin.
Right now, it's a razor. Dude, it's a razor. It's less than a point in Wisconsin. 33% in. Less than a point. 5,000 votes for RFK. Crazy.
Yeah, everybody asked, is that going to have an impact? No.
Okay.
I mean, maybe Trump loses by 5,000, but I really don't see it.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep watching. Any path for Kamala? Final question. Any path for Kamala? I mean, what path do you see for Kamala right now?
She's got to sweep them. She's got to sweep 3 states that are essentially toss-ups right now, and run the odds. But Trump's been outperforming in the rural vote. Harris has been underperforming in the urban vote. I'm not sure if that's baked into their models or not, but all of these things have been strong Trump returns. And I don't know. It feels good. Feels like the statistical models think it's good. The betting market's thinking it's good, and we just got to wait an hour.
All right. All right. Here we go. We're going to wait an hour. Mark, we hope you can we hope we can come back and do the victory dance. See you, brother. Thank you.
All right. Good to be here.
Gentlemen, Montana, the great state of Montana, called for President Trump. You know we're going to do the Trump dance. Let's rock and roll, Klein.
We're going to meme them till they cry and use their tears to grease the treads of our takes.
It's like a cut scene it's like a cut scene. It's like a gamer cut scene every single time Trump wins a state. I love it. Maine is not supposed to vote for Donald Trump. There's only 6% in, okay? So don't get too excited. But Donald Trump winning in Maine right now. Whoa. Just whoa. We are waiting on Georgia. Georgia's being stubborn. We are waiting on Georgia. We've got a massive win on our hands once Georgia is called, and then we need a single state. 220 for Donald Trump. 220 for Donald Trump. 50 electoral votes. 50 electoral votes. You ready to lock in? Are you ready? PA is going to get it.
If we go to the 17th district, that's the one race of the 4 that Republicans flipped back.
Has been called for President Donald Trump. Let's go victory dance. I love it. It's like these little side quests that we go on, right? And during the program. It's the side quests, yes. This trash in Iowa. There's such garbage. Such garbage put in Iowa View. New Mexico. Red for Donald Trump. There's 20% in. Donald Trump's winning New Mexico. What the hell is going on? New Mexico! Mexico! Dude, could Donald Trump win New Mexico? We had multiple pollsters on this program look you and me in the eye and say, New Mexico, watch it, kings. Watch it. Kings and queens, get ready. Look at that map. Look at how red the map is right. Look at it. This is the map. Live. Look at this. Look at how red this map is. Wisconsin red, Pennsylvania red, Maine red. Hasn't been called yet. New Mexico. New Mexico. Right now. Donald Trump. 80% in Georgia. Come on, call it. Call it. Call Georgia. Make my freaking day. Iowa flips red. They're going to call Iowa in like 10 seconds. Iowa flips red. Iowa's gone. It's gone. Arizona has started reporting. It's 10:07 p.m. Just turned 10:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is when Arizona will begin dumping its votes. Look at that. Whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, Arizona, look at it. Look at it. Dude, Phoenix reported 50% in. And Donald Trump, I feel like I'm going to cry. I'm not going to cry. Not actually going to cry. I might cry tears of joy tonight. I'm not sure. It depends. We have multiple bottles of bourbon in the studio. We've never opened them. But I'm going to crack them open. I'm going to crack them open live. We got to send people to go get champagne bottles. What was I thinking? We're going to champagne bottles. We're going to destroy tens of thousands of dollars of equipment in the studio today. Poor Killer Klein's like, don't you dare. Don't you dare. Killer Klein's like threatening me right now. And he knows jiu-jitsu. Why am I so excited about this? Look at this! So more than half the votes are in Phoenix, which is the only way to win Arizona for libs. And Donald Trump is tied. The rest of the state is blood red. Donald Trump is going to clean house in Arizona. Look at this map! Look at it! I feel like I could cry. I'm gonna not. It's gonna chill out, Ben. You're not a white dude for Harris. You don't cry. I'm so happy.
Mayor Williams, thank you so much for joining us. Good to have you here tonight. How do you feel about the voter turnout in your city?
You know, in my city, it was quite historic. I feel great about it. We did our part. You know, we understood the assignment, and from young people to women to just conservatives to, you know, progressives, we all came out. You know, Durham did its part. We boosted North Carolina turnout as much as we possibly could.
Mayor, how optimistic are you about North Carolina's prospect for Vice President Harris?
Well, you know, it's still really too close to call. It's really early. I know Trump is projected at this point. And we were hoping to turn North Carolina blue. I'm a blue city. We are still awaiting those final results to come in to see what happens. We've had historic turnout on the Democratic side, but so did Republicans. And the third-party candidates didn't really have much of an effect. So, you know, we'll see what happens. I'm keeping the faith, but we'll see what happens.
And Mayor, to your earlier point about the voter turnout you're seeing in especially your city, what are the issues driving those voters to the polls? Any ideas on those maybe single issues that turn voters out?
Yeah, there were two main things that I heard many folks talk about. One, women's rights.
Right now, I want to speak to this man. Ladies and gentlemen, what? Holy F! Are you kidding me? Okay, we're just gonna do it. I'm gonna stop with it. I can't believe what I'm seeing. There are 95% in Wisconsin, and Donald Trump's. This can't be right. cannot believe this. I'm losing my, I cannot believe it. I'm literally gasping for air. Ladies and gentlemen, 95% reporting Wisconsin. Trump's won Wisconsin. They haven't called it yet, so I'm not going to play the dance. But Trump won Wisconsin. New Mexico's red. Arizona's going red. Iowa's now been called. What did I tell you? Iowa's called. Iowa's called. Iowa's called. Trump dance, go. Go, go.
Shooting star leaping through the sky like a tiger, defying the laws of gravity.
I can't believe what's going on. I can't believe what's happening right now. What's happening? 95% reporting Donald Trump is winning by 500,000 votes in Wisconsin. Is this a reporting error? This is insane. Donald Trump is up by 1.5 points in Pennsylvania. 50% reporting. 50% reporting. What is going on? Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to win. 226 for Donald Trump. 226 for Donald Trump. Jerry, you better be making the most epic Donald Trump victory meme that has ever existed. It better be a work of art. I better get a Cannes Film Festival demand to play your meme. I want an Oscar for this meme. Jerry, you better have the greatest Trump victory meme that ever existed. In the saddle. The time is 10:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What the hell happened?